All right, there we go. Recording is started officially. Now, things are gonna happen. So, is there anyone who wants to do a recap?
Yeah, I told Sheep I would handle it due to his absence.
All right.
Mm. Welcome back to Dreads of the Dragon Coast. That includes our player Sheep. Sheep has been absent for 3 sessions, and while he has caught snippets that Manikai broadcasted, which were added to the YouTube playlist on Haldimir Hall's channel, I thought to provide a focused recap of notable story events. Before I go into that, though, Manikai is going to be the long-term broadcaster and recorder for this campaign moving forward. These streams are at twitch.tv/Manikai, and they are quickly uploaded to his YouTube channel, which will burgeon and bustle with activity, no doubt. Let's get on with the recap. Now, in your absence, Sheep, we finished the year, started before our mountain lizard folk fight, and then we played through another. Just 2 years. So, north of the sea, up in Cormyr, I'll give Manikai an opportunity to look up there. Woo! The Radiant Host is making gains against the Shadowvar, and, the shadows up there don't look so bleak. It just centralized in this sort of gut area. Go work, Radiant Host. We haven't been paying attention, so we don't know specifics, but there's that much. Anyway, south of the sea, that's what you'll really care about. You'll see those two colored blobs in Eriabor and Proscure. Yeah, the reddish dots, those are Thayan enclaves. Thea is spreading out, while Cormyr is distracted. They've also taken control of Redenseer, seeing that maroon burgundy border that's been used to differentiate them from you. They've rebuilt the fortifications at Redenseer, their knolls, and they might be looking to rebuild the bridge too, for trade. See, Thay is on a public relations tour in this region. They're selling magic items at a 10% discount. They're also accepting commissions, so instead of looking for items that are like 4 or 5 levels beneath you, you get items of your level. What a deal. Southwest of Redenseer, you may have noticed that the blue flame avatar of Nobanian now occupies the Warm Hill. Yeah, that happened. Cindermoon defeated it in whatever form that took and shunted it out of the Gulfmere Forest to be resolved later. So for now, the lion is there, and so is the blue fire. You'll see that Dayan's people have abandoned this region and moved much closer to the coastline. Into your home region. Ares Dragon investigated the southern tribes of the Giants Run Mountains. There were 4 major groups: a mob of ogres led by 2 ogre magi, an assortment of hill giants led by perhaps a shaman or mystic of some kind, a swarm of goblins led by a telekinetic bugbear, and a company of well-trained hobgoblins led by a vampire. Where Cicatrix met with 3 of the groups, and she liked the hobgoblins the most. Turns out Kazel the Wanderer had been turned into a vampire by one of the Night Masks, and Kazel was here gathering troops to take back up to Westgate and establish a new faction there. So, the ogres and giants are no longer a notable force in these mountains. Kazel has already left these mountains and gone back to Westgate, which leaves a power vacuum here in the mountains for the goblins to rise. Ares Dragon stationed several minions at the old watchtower. She has also befriended Burr, the psionic bugbear. Well, as much as she can befriend anyone, but Burr is there. Circling on over to Naflan. The Shrine of Shar beneath Naflek was destroyed. The darkness there is no more. The old shadow government remains in exile, plotting who knows with whatever mercenaries. Their token has vanished off the map, somewhere in Anglispark's territory. Naflek itself is currently an independent city led by bureaucrats. Their existence hinged on impressing my character and appeasing the hunter within her. They did. And Isare Lidrathyr is giving civilization a chance. Speaking of civilization, across the mountains in Termish, Anglispark is continuing to solidify his rule. He's also projecting power into the mountains to beat up dwarven clans and kill off some mercenaries. Look forward to more action-packed stories from that region. Obviously, a blue dragon wanting to utilize the military is not going to stop. For more action-packed stories, have a gander at the Sea of Fallen Stars. Check out the new company, the Fleet of Umberlee. There's a powerful naval force there, led by a potential chosen of Umberlee. Umberlee is the storm goddess of the seas. She's malicious, petty, and greedy. There are reasons Forgotten Realms literature occasionally refers to her as the Bitch Queen. This force is dangerous enough to concern the broader coalition, which has united against Symbia. Naval invasion would be very difficult if Umberlee said no. I'll conclude with the Gulfmere Forest. Nobanion's avatar is gone, and Cindermoon is convalescing. The western part of the forest is alive yet different, a suitable home for Ettercaps. Cindermoon remains dedicated to stopping the Blue Flame and will pay any price to achieve her goal. She's currently planning an ominous meeting, time and location unknown, so that the disparate members of the Enclave may hear her words and voice their concerns. It'll probably be a terrible thing full of darkness and suffering, and my dragon, alongside others, including an Elder Gold Dragon, will be looking to defeat Cindermoon in the near future. There's your focus recap sheet. Ta-da!
I am appalled by how much happened in 3 sessions.
Well, I mean, it was only like we finished off a year and then did an entire year. Just was so heavy, like roleplay focus. We zoomed in on the characters, particularly for Cicatrix and her struggles to learn how to interact with humanoids.
I watched most of that.
It is a struggle.
Researching friendship.
Understand you give people stuff. That's how you get friends.
You know, you might be onto something there.
No.
All right, thank you for the recap, Noah. That was great.
That was great.
I will say.
Before Manikai launches into the goals and the enemy goal slot, what's the most concerning part of the recap? Is it the Thayan Enclaves? Is it the Blue Flame avatar of Nobanion at the Warm Hill?
I mean, for me as a player that may be tainted by previous experiences, the words Ettercaps is probably the worst.
It's okay. The other caps are on my side.
Yeah, that's not my concern.
That's right.
The phase expansion worries me the most.
Yeah.
Aerie had the opportunity to take advantage of that as she was looking to buy magic items, and she hard noped. I was like,
Yeah.
but you could save money. They can't track consumables, Aerie. No.
No.
So what's this gold color down here?
That is a color to
Thunder?
signify Thunderhome, just sort of like differentiate and make it pop out. That Hobgoblin,
right, sorry.
Southern Fort, has been there for the entire time because Thunderhome's always had that as an asset, but that icon was hidden from us, so we never saw it.
Well, that makes sense. That seemed new. Okay.
There is a new company called Ericazar that's down in the south. They've always been there, but it's sort of like the first time they've become notable. Actions they've taken thus far have involved the adventurer-controlled area whenever, because they took territory in Daflan.
They are very large.
I mean, you look at that and you're like, okay, they're not good guys.
I mean, are we though?
I mean, no.
It doesn't matter.
That's true.
Really? Are we the bad guys?
No, I'm good dragon.
Are we the dreads of the Dragon Coast? Or is that
No,
someone
no,
else? entirely?
we are
No.
not.
We are defending.
No.
Objectively, we are the lesser evil.
This is session 104, and at no point have I felt like I'm the actual thing to be dreaded about.
Right? I mean, and I'm disappointed. Like I want to be. I want to get there. Right? Like by the end, I expect to be the dread of the Dragon Coast. Specifically, the Black Dread. No.
I have dreaded the Dragon Coast.
Yeah, we can confirm.
Yeah, true.
All right. I believe there's an empty goal slot now with your name on it, Sheep. We've kept it empty just for you.
Yeah. In fact, we have 2 slots. Currently, we have 4
right.
active goals, one being integrate the Emerald Enclave and the Verdant Eclipse into one, continuously being worked on. Then we have mislead the Thayan expedition to reduce their progress, which has sort of been there for a long time, hasn't had a lot of active sort of action to it, but it's still something the dragons want to accomplish. Then we have secure an Earth moat worthy of a Lignith. I mean, that's, you know, that one. That's been a layover since before, a couple sessions ago. And the last one is integrate the Sleepers Council into the Marked, with a desire to invite Getra into a more formal union. And this sort of loose alliance. This leaves us 2 goals.
One for each of you.
I think my goal is one that has been a long time coming, and it is time because I am tired. It will be to integrate Thunderdome. Or subjugate. Or one of those words. It's not going to be a peaceful process. Or maybe it will be. Or maybe they'll just get destroyed. I don't know. One of those 3 things.
All right.
The goal is seamless, frictionless, easy, and quick integration. What will actually come from it is a whole different question. Oh,
Frictionless integration. I like it.
All right. Yeah.
4 more die! Oh, okay. Great.
So
The
I
Red
think
Dragon.
this is gonna be an easy goal. There are. You've done a lot of work on that already. Thunderhome is for the most part sort of at this point becoming inseparable from the dragon's influence. Beyond that,
You need to realize
there
that.
is no significant, like, beyond the people of Thunderhome themselves, there's no one else trying to interfere with this. So there's no, like, epic tier people involved. Which, of course, isn't the moniker for an easy goal, but,
Right.
you know, it's something you can certainly work on, given that they're weaker than you. Like, they're not really in a position to.
That's
If
right.
something
They've
from major
become
upset happens.
They've become too dependent on you and too isolated from anyone else who could interfere.
Pretty much. I mean, at this point, you know, the youth of Thunderhome has not known a time without the dragon.
Well,
Yeah, they
except for
have
that one
little
decade.
action figures.
All these,
know?
you know, all these old dwarves, all the boomer dwarves, thinks that they should be separate from the dragon, but you know, all the kids know that the cool new thing to do, the new fad, is Tiamat worship. You know,
I don't know how
purple.
I think about
you know.
calling that a fad. It's not a phase, Mom.
Goddess of greed and
It's not a
strife.
phase.
Not a pro-
Yeah, she's older than Moradin.
Yeah. It's not a phase.
And I think, I mean,
it's 5
you
of
know,
them.
take it what you will, but there is it does have that. I'm putting it a little bit funny, right? But there is it is kind of hip to have dragon iconography and such. It's sort of snuck its way into the culture.
and all these dwarves are coming out in pairs due to the blessing, so
Yeah,
there's just kids overrunning the long
there
beards.
are. There's many of them. Integrate Thunderhome into the dragon thing. Might have to look for a new name for that.
Yes,
Eventually.
a new name and finally an icon is on the horizon.
Oh well.
Oh,
Also, Ari, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the pun you made there. It's not a phase, it's 5 of them. Huh, okay.
All
That
right.
was terrible. Sorry.
I didn't catch it, and I regret now having been informed.
No, it was in response to Tiamat. It's not a phase,
Yeah.
it's 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, God.
All right. That leaves us 1. I believe that is Basicatrix's goal.
Yes. I have reestablished the old giant ritual sites.
All of them. Yeah. Okay, that's a hard
I
goal.
mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know if they have like for every home grave or whatever. I'm not talking about those.
No.
we know which
We
ones
know
I'm
what
talking
we're
about.
talking about. Yes.
You rebuild every tomb.
Sealing the
Yeah.
the Death King. Now that is a hard goal because there's a
an
lot of
epic
them.
entity that's trying to stop
There's a
me.
lot of them. There's an epic tier entity trying to, or directly willing to act. I mean, this is having that happen would be this entity's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So you're sort of directly opposed to something powerful there, and beyond that, it's also just a difficult thing to do, even without opposition. So
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna start with one. But
yeah, well, I'm gonna cap that at hard and just
yeah. Good.
it's good.
The mountains
And
are
that is
ripe
what we
with
have.
goblins and Tiamat worshippers. What could go wrong?
Let's give it a little one. Nope. Good. Then we all have things to. Is that all open?
It looks like 6.
All right. Yeah. No, I count those.
Good.
Good. Excellent. Then we can move into the sort of the game phase. I was about to say. Well, probably with a look at Velignith. Now Velignith has been spending his time here, taking care of Torskal, the Thunder Giant throne. Storm Giant, I suppose it is. The Storm Giant throne. And I've been watching it alongside his pal, the I guess unlikely duo, the Cloud Giant Archer, who once fed him what was akin to dry bamboo, and now they aid each other, watching over this corpse of a Storm Giant. Neither of them wanted to be there, but both of them seem to have put their differences behind them for this future purpose, this greater purpose. Was the Cloud Giant happy that the dragon has come to his senses? Maybe there was a reason they spared him.
Yeah, what Velignith has learned about all the time he's been here guarding this mountain is that their two perspectives are vastly opposed, to the point where everything Velignith tries to subtly dig at him is interpreted in a completely wrong way. The fortifications he has partly built himself, partly ordered to have been built on the barren mountain, sort of resemble the construction of the giant place he's been kept captive in. Although, of course, he doesn't really remember the entire structure, as he's been mostly stuck around the cages there. He still built similar arcs and similar constructions. There's plenty of spots where it can fall off into the void and such. He liked that. And while that was meant to be a bit of an ironic and insulting construction, he destroyed it. Now he's gonna build it better. Has been vastly misinterpreted as some sort of, the giant likes that, and that's terrible. But such is life, he supposes. Yeah.
The giant has been very happy to help by telling Velignith how it should be, or how it was made back then, but has also been passively opposing any attempt at physical labor himself, because that is not his caste's job, right? He has a garden he takes care of, but he does not carry rocks. That's not Cloud Giant labor. For that they would need hill giants, or even those damned stone giants. Where are they anyway?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of those downstairs, far too many of them, but that's besides the point. Yeah, most of Maligno's time was probably spent just doing what he does on the Fanes, sitting there, pondering, guarding. He hasn't left too often, really. Occasionally, perhaps to check in on the Fane. Yeah. But now that that's done, that he has his people there, the Giant, the Blizzard folk haven't really shown themselves in years at this point. Time to act again. Sitting around is not the best thing. All this inactivity is certainly winding Maligno's spring.
Yeah. So perhaps that is where we start then. As Velignith, will move on to do his glorious purpose. What is like? You have the initiative here to leave this mountaintop.
It will be time for him to join one of Thunderhome's meetings. He has been made a baron, basically. Joined the council, has gotten a seat on the council there as he requested, really. And while that never really leads to anything important, perhaps the occasional insight and how Thunderhome wants to expand and all that, it's not been a particularly interesting affair. But in the past, he's at least diligently attended them, if only to loom in the background to remind them that he does exist. But today, probably going to be a bit more memorable.
Thunderhome's meetings are usually quite boring. 7 elders of the various clans sit around a small stone table in a room that has had to be grown bigger after the dragon was invited. Velignith does have a chair. It's the same size as everyone else's, because a too big chair would signify some sort of status or ranking that's not supposed to be there. The Dwarven elders are very particular about what each responsibilities are and who exactly has what sort of title. Minutia that, in the grand scheme of things, don't matter, but that, clans would kill each other for. The meetings are usually about, what to do about something that happened, or how to rule in some benign case of someone stealing someone else's gold-tinted plate, because they had the same grandfather and they disagree about who should have the inheritance. Beyond that, though, the big talks are about where Thunderhome's future lies. Some believe it lies below. Expand on the promised passage. Create it. Velignith, after all, controls the valley beyond. If they control that, then trade to the south would finally be a possibility. Nathlan is rich. Where was those magic cats they ordered so many years ago? Others believe it lies north. Elversalt, that is where the dwarves must go. Trade must come from the north, and although they don't have the position they hoped for back when Thunderhome was founded, a position where they could become a beacon of trade, well, they will instead have to invest in Elversalt and then bring the money home, to Thunderhome from there. Elversalt, luckily, is also within the grasp of Velignith, and thus can be considered part of Thunderhome's area of influence. As Velignith, of course, is a baron. No one really wants to go further into the mountains. The mine has been subtly put over to Velignith's people after another incursion of the undead, with no pretenses, really. The dwarves mine the silver, but maybe they work the silver. But it doesn't necessarily leave Tiamat's mine. And though there might be more mines within the mountains, well, there's also bad things. Strange lakes that used to have bundles of dead things around them, now empty. It is all very eerie, and the dwarves have decided that perhaps below ground or, north would be their preferred ways. Usually, these meetings happen, the dwarves talk about their issues, disagree, and a year or two later will find some sort of workable compromise, after which they will vote, usually ending unanimously or with a couple of people voting differently out of sheer principle. Some barons do not want to vote like other barons, no matter the cause.
Yeah, it's during one of those ordinary meetings where Villeneuve basically never contributes anything. He just sits, observes, is present, which is probably the main purpose of him being there in the first place. Probably near the end, he will actually raise his voice in the stone chamber that will certainly be heard by all. As he'll simply start. Perhaps as everyone gets up to leave, a appropriately dramatic moment, as he says, "I have 2 announcements to make that are relevant to Thunderhome."
The dwarven elders sort of stop in their tracks and look over at Vlitnith. Most of them have gotten, in the first couple of years, dragon fear was a heavy problem. But now, it sort of wanes after a time. Vlitnith could exert it, sure, but, well, he isn't. He sort of has become a bit of a fixture of the room. Most of the dwarves will take glances upon him for the most part, feeling powerful, having a dragon sort of sit in on their council room, perhaps thinking more of him as an asset than as a direct participant. Now, they look, and a moment of silence happens before one of them, a prominent, says, "And what would that be, Baron Vlitnith?"
I have decided that in the not too far future, I will look towards the west. There are flying moats full of elemental energies and resources that are wanting to be exploited. I've investigated a lot of them myself over time, but I've come to the realization that while one of them might be a suitable home, there's industry and wealth to be had over there, given proper workforce, of course, survey teams, infrastructure, road, dock, perhaps. It'll be a project that will be quite foremost on my mind very soon. Now, that aside, the second announcement is perhaps more important for Thunderhome's immediate future. You see, many, many years ago at this point, decades, perhaps 70, I barely remember at this point, I said that I would put every ounce of silver that leaves my mine on a scale, weighing what I do for you and give to you against what you do for me. Now, I've decided that today is the day that I'm going to look at this metaphorical scale, and I can tell you it looks dire indeed. Now, I could have simply acted on that immediately, rolled up here with fire and fury, and did something I probably would have done in my younger years. However, while you have not done much for me, you have at least earned a modicum of politeness. So here I am, laying out the situation that awaits you. You see, you've benefited from me greatly, from my territory, the silver mine, obviously, which has provided you with decades of silver that does not belong to you. You've benefited from my mercy, my tolerance. You've attacked me, and I did not retaliate. You benefited from my strength, my allies that have, quite frankly, delivered you a mountain range and a world around you that is mostly without notable enemies, that have returned your ancient holdings that you failed to do anything about, and has revealed secret paths through the mountains. There's Elversold, of course, the valley, pathways to future trade, all those things. You've benefited from my vigilance, which I think you forgot, or forget quite a lot. My vigilance that has kept the undead terror below at bay for now, that you wouldn't be aware of were not for me. And of course, you've benefited from my patience. I've let you enjoy your prosperity, your positions for so long, despite your willful ignorance about the fact that I'm not only the primary reason for it, but the only reason. So, Today, I'm giving Thunderdome a choice and awaiting your answer by today next year. You and it can prosper under me, or you can burn beneath me. I am your future or your doom. They have only 3 outcomes here, as far as I can tell. Either you are sensible and Thunderdome becomes mine in its entirety, and quite frankly, little will change. You will be wealthy, you will expand, but you will do as I say when I say. And perhaps in time, you can re-earn a fraction of independence. Option 2, you immediately jump me with all your guards and whatever Thunderdome has to offer, you kill me. You know what happens then, if you even manage that fact, which I hardly doubt? The silver mine will be overrun by necrotic energies again, the mountains turn against you, the terror from below would rise and its undead armies overrun you, and at best, you will once again be stuck in your own hold, safe and miserable. Although I do find it more likely that something or another will simply destroy you. Your shot at greatness gone, again, and I suspect even your own people would not enjoy the fact that you've thrown your future away just to spite me. Of course, option 3, which I sincerely hope you do not choose, is that you continue to ignore me and what I do for you, as you've done so far. In that case, I will do to Thunderdome what I've done to Elversold, among other places. Luckily, your forges and buildings are sturdy, but I can assure you nothing else will survive. I will make sure that nothing remembers your name, your culture, or your accomplishments, and I will get other dwarves to live here and work whatever remains of your forges for my future projects. Though I don't suspect that any true civilization would ever truly take root here again. And I think that would be a shame and a waste, honestly. So, as far as I can tell, those are your 3 options. Now, I do believe this meeting is over, and quite frankly, I have no desire to linger here for much longer. If you have any questions, I suppose I can answer them if you are quick. Otherwise, I will await your answer before next year.
I didn't want to interrupt you as this tirade goes on. One of the dwarves, certainly known for being rather belligerent. One of the proponents who, hasn't said it near Valignith before, but who Valignith knows would definitely have voted to kill the dragon while they had the chance. Has sort of stood up and is staring at Valignith as he speaks this. His cheeks growing red as he says, well, as it turns out, dragon, we have waited for you to show your true colors, and now you're here in our hold, daring to speak to us about this. Another dwarf, however, stands up and moves to put his hand on the old noble's shoulder and says, Now, Warren, do not say you speak for all of us. The old dwarf stares. And says, I speak for most people here, I'm sure. I say that we would rather die than serve a dragon. 2 more of the council members step up behind him and sort of put their hands on his arms, which he sort of tried to shrug off. They seem to have a pretty firm grip. And most tellingly, perhaps, they put worried eyes towards Valignith.
I will never... I've been accused of many things, but I've never been accused of being too subtle. I've never hidden my true colors. Quite frankly, I'm confused by the fact that you think I would have ever done anything differently than I have today.
One of the other nobles, a slightly younger one, says, Warren here, you... he would first look at Valignith and look at Warren, clearly thinking, or says, God! Thunder God, as it calls. They usually stay outside the room, but when called, they will burst in. They certainly heard the commotion. the loud dragon speaking sort of echoes through the halls outside, even. Where you probably had a large amount of people hushedly listening to the words. They'll burst in. Take Lord Warren away. He's tired. Perhaps getting a bit delirious. So nervous glances move about. Lord Warren just stares at Ignis. You, how dare you? I am. Before he is pulled out and removed from the chamber. The other nobles look at each other, no one really daring to speak. For a moment later, one says, "A year, then. I suppose we have enough time to discuss it. Though, sort of glances to Ignis. Options seem... There seems to be one particular beneficial one." Ignis can certainly take his leave, leaving the room somewhat in stunned silence. He hasn't said anything at these council meetings, and his words certainly do carry a lot. Promise of wealth, the threat of utter annihilation. They will talk, but I think we and Velignith might both have an idea of which way they're going to fall.
Well, there's certainly a part of Velignith that would enjoy seeing how any of his three options turn out.
The part where Velignith dies and they're overrun by undead monstrosities anyway.
Well, the part where they try to kill Velignith.
I was gonna say, that's not gonna be a good option for them.
I don't know, man. They're dwarves.
None of them really want to anymore. I mean, just... this dragon is powerful. Very powerful. And Elvisol did get completely destroyed. So did Elm. And Redenseer. And anything else that was so close to it.
The giant.
Yeah, the hierarchy fell. No one knows what happened to the fire
It
giant. But
fell,
they're not here
alright.
anymore.
Yeah, the fire giant just vanished one day.
And they do know that there is an undead threat. I mean, that's certainly very real. Because of Velignith, because they were under sway of that for a time. And perhaps at some point they might have trusted more in their priests of Moradin. But after finding out that some of them were being influenced by some undead monstrosity, it has led pretty much any of them to be questioned whenever they say anything. You can't really claim divine mandate here. It doesn't really work that much anymore.
Oh, man. Dwarves questioning their elders. Oh,
What have
sacred tradition.
what have the times come to?
Revolution.
We'll see
These
the
are
bro-
truly the end times.
the brother of Dirtle Hollenforge calling out for...
Ah, yes, I am H.H. Hurdle Hollenforge.
Writing a manifesto. Yeah, but with that, Velignith can certainly take his leave. The dwarves listen, and, news spreads fast enough. I mean, the dwarves do not gossip, as it were, but it seems that the news is big enough that it travels in front of Velignith, as I assume he takes a leisurely stroll out.
Yeah.
It's power play, certainly. Gates are opened as usual. The guards bow, as he is a baron, which is there. Really insulting another baron. It's a dangerous thing at any time.
Yeah.
How does he feel? As he exits on the this way.
Probably calmer than he has in a while. That was exciting. It was a long time coming. There's a part of him that is disappointed that it went so smoothly.
He would have liked to break things.
And
Yeah.
now he waits.
The backbone of Thunderhelm broke a little while ago. Well, a year then. And he returns home. Yeah. Good. Good. Is there anything anyone else would like to begin doing? Willingness. Move to Thunderhome and step away again. Giving Sheep a little chance to think.
You got a thing, Ari?
Not off the top of my head now.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and have my faction, as they've settled back into the forest over the past year, work on policing this region.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna slice off the western forest, given its changes and the shadow druids are there. But I think the central part, especially the one around the Grand Temple, is something we'll focus on.
Yeah.
Let's see, might and sovereignty. That is our 7 dice. Pair of 8s, pair of 7s, pair of 4s. No policing in Naflek, though. Agents that enjoy the city will remain in there to keep an eye on things and potentially, like, if anyone tries interfering in there, they may take action.
Yeah.
I think for the dragon herself, she's not gonna like interact with the rest of the Enclave or send a message like across the ways of the Fleet of Umberlee until she actually has like a meeting location and time, which Cindermoon will have to get back to her with. So I think until then, the company is going to stay idle, and Missouri Leaderthier is gonna probably go split her time like half and half again as she did last year between her Grand Temple and Naflek. Though this year, she is not going to be in Naflek as dragon form. She wants to observe how the city like interacts and functions when the dragon is not there. And so she is going to be shifting form to any sort of large innocuous creature, a large cat or a bird of some kind. She can't exactly do a tiny rat to sort of observe proceedings. And she's curious about this civilization and wants to see how it engages and functions. She is a young dragon, and this could be a chance for them to impress upon her something.
Yeah, she can watch it and study it, and it certainly seems very much, perhaps to her, like you'd see a colony of ants, right? Everyone moves around frantically, doing things that seem like they don't have any individual purpose, but somehow all together, it sort of makes sense. Things get accomplished, though the individual isn't really in particular in focus here.
What a curious form of leadership.
Yeah, they very much delegate tasks into various things to organize the workforce, to repair and also to deal with this plague through harsh quarantining. So we're all familiar with.
Yes. Ostensibly, folks from the Emerald Enclave were going to come help them with that, but
Yeah,
who knows what's happened?
there's people there, but again, the Emerald Enclave is sort of, it doesn't really tell its druids what to do so much as recommend actions.
Yep, that's that form of leadership there.
Some have certainly gone. Beyond that, there is a couple of healers, say from Termish. Though for healers, Emerson would notice they certainly ask a lot of questions and keep a lot of eyes on everything that goes on. Clearly people are interested in what happens in the city.
I think for those healers of Termish, I think she would end up directing her agents to gently guide those healers out of the city walls and politely inform them that they are being watched by Emissary Leaderthier. And then let the healers carry that information with them for the rest of their days.
Yeah. Yeah. They will clearly they're eager not to return home empty-handed. So, but they certainly don't take any hostile action beyond simply seeing what's going on.
Yep, that's fine. And they're permitted to stay here. They just the dragon wants them to know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, clearly they're bad spies because good spies wouldn't get noticed.
Well, not everyone could be like some sort of like shape-changing assassin.
No, sadly not. Missouri has massive insight and perception, better than the sort of average spy has any of those things.
Level 20, I'm cheating.
Yeah. Well, basically. All right. Yes. News of Cindermoon, there aren't much. Certainly, Veros is doing things over in the eastern end of the Gulfmere. Word is that he's even had a meeting with Anglispark, who apparently was somewhat perplexed and confused at the sudden level of attention he was getting from those of the Gulfmere. Hopefully, whatever meeting happened has cleared some things out. But the dragon is never one to take being shown up politely, and has moved General Victus and the Suitors' Hold from their Dwarven campaign to be stationed in the mountains just south of the Gulfmere. Certainly a statement of power, making sure that everyone knows where the border is. It's unlikely, of course, that Veros would want to actually, do anything to the dragon's border. He seems thoroughly uninterested in that. It's a lot more important things to deal with. Beyond that, in general news, you will all understand that sea travel has become more difficult. Most merchant ships that go out don't come back. And even the some buzzing Westgate harbors are beginning to thin out. You can easily find a place to moor, and, well, everyone knows that Umberlee is putting her attention upon the Sea of Fallen Stars, that she's unhappy, that she's displeased with something. Why? Well, there are many different guesses as to why. They just know that they're all eager to please her. That is certainly what happens to a lot. Money is dumped into the sea, because Umberlee does love gold, and things that hurt to give up. In that, she's very much like a dragon. This has also become a problem for the Coalition ships. The Coalition fleet has had to sail south to leave the coast of Sembia, which was ostensibly almost blockaded. And how Sembia will react to this is not really known. But most people would anticipate certainly a testing of the waters to see how firm this vice around them is now. Cormier has called up certainly another census to find out who could be conscripted just in case something bad would happen, pulling their eyes away from Tizir and from Easting and Prosker even further than we already, and certainly away from dragons. Really. Yeah. In the south, the adventurer town down here of Assam has, it seems to be going great. Merchants have been arriving here hoping to get to Nathlake, and are being, asked to support the local garrison. Beasts, monsters, and other such things are plenty down there, roaming the land, and any caravan would certainly need to be protected from them. This is good adventuring business. Beyond that, people from Urgazar, peaceful, calm people, have arrived and helped deliver some food to them, hoping perhaps to make friends with these adventurers of the Shining Plains. So there's certainly no nefarious business going on. Even though sometimes at night, people disappear in the city of Assam. But that is unrelated, probably. The Marked have noticed that the fire on the very warm hill is not stopping. Beyond that, though, it seems that every now and then at night they begin to see little fires along the coast of the lake, No one has really wanted to go close enough to see what that is, but they are certainly bluish glints, almost as will-o-wisps calling attention across it. Beyond that, there's been a migration of lizard folk away from this general area. They seem to find this place to be bad, leaving them further north, so east and south. There's quite a few of them in this region still, though they're not united, and certainly are disillusioned. They're sort of trying to eke out whatever existence they can. Beyond that, the behemoths are also still sort of stomping about here and there, grazing and such. Some of them still carrying battle scars, or even with the lizard folk. Many of them seem to have a hard time living up here due to the sparser vegetation. Castle in Westgate has a new faction, the Night Mask, a single one this time. Harkening back to the glory days, which may or may not be a good idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Six would have advised her not to do that, but
the Hobgoblin
here we are.
Decided that things used to be pretty good for most people in the city. And perhaps by harkening back to those days, well, you could set yourself apart. There are many new guilds in the city, but most of them are just, they all blend together into the general miasma. The word of Night Mask, though, that carries some weight, and even larger factions shift uncomfortably, knowing that should such a faction rise, well, only vengeance would be on the table. That said, a lot of the people that brought down the Night Masks are gone themselves. It seems the Night Masks have managed to outlive them. Sethiston reports this to Cicatrix and to Malicnus people, certainly. Like a vampire is around, saying the Night Masks are back.
I was gonna
There's
say,
a lot of ogres and the like.
Cicatrix has been sending, like, Lignif while he was up, like, keeping him aware of what she was doing in the mountains, so he would probably know about Cassel already.
Yeah, acknowledge there's a vampire. I've got bigger problems.
Yeah, right? A vampire was like, yeah, sure, whatever. You undead, fine. There's a bunch of them. Go to Westgate.
Vampire who was in this mountains and you got out of this mountains? Great. Thumbs up.
Exactly. I
One
removed one
less.
vampire from these mountains.
Yeah.
Score.
All right, well, does anyone have any other actions they want to begin accomplishing?
You know my favorite thing in this campaign so far? Rolling d20s for my Earth mode.
Yes. Do
Yeah, let's do that. That's all good.
I would like to get factions involved sooner or later because I actually want to maybe work on an asset as we discussed.
Yeah.
That involves them. But for now, I just want a home.
Just one.
All right, let's go for an Arcana to look at Earth modes. That's
Yeah. You can,
No.
if I want, give me a d4.
4. That used to be higher.
Yes, it did.
It's 1. Is that
All right.
good or bad?
I've removed the things that I knew wouldn't be good enough. Well, almost all of them. He finds one, an Earth mode that is mostly black, sort of covered in a bit of spines. It is glowing in some places, certainly iron infused or metal infused, and certainly also hot. It is primarily made of iron. It says here, not as fancy as silver or gold, certainly, but iron is useful, stronger than copper. Maybe there's an aesthetic to it.
Settling for aesthetic. I'll make a note of it. It's better than copper, but maybe next year.
All right. Right.
I think I'm going to have my company direct a critical eye of scrutiny towards Westgate. A couple years back, where Cicatrix and her many musings to try and sway the Green Dragon mentioned something about like there's like a portal down there, and there could be like a potential like a blue flame catastrophe, and Westgate could become like another Star Mantle, and all of that sounds like it could be a problem, but maybe down the road. So I think Missouri Leader Theory is going to look at, her minions who might otherwise be bored and don't want to spend time in Naflac and don't want to be in the forest. All right, you go up to Westgate and see if you can find anything about, like, sightings of, like, blue flame or whispers of, like, aberrations, like dreams or what have you. She's not going to tell them about the portal directly.
Just go investigate.
Look at it. Yeah, go investigate. Get back to me on that. Well, I don't know if you want me to give you like an espionage role now or somewhere down the road.
I'll ask for it.
Yeah.
I
presume it would be an espionage.
Yeah. No
just
aberrant thing would certainly want to be known.
Yeah. All right. Influence and treasure would be 7 dice. Pair of 8s. I don't think I'm trying to be secret about this.
Yeah. You look into it, asking for certainly people have strange dreams. It happens all the time. There's so many people investigate that there's bound to be some incidental reports, right? It's also sailor stories, a lot of them. Currently, the news is mostly focused on Umberly, and though, there has been some creepy things. Word is that there was a strange cult. Small, just some people, but they wore like brown hoods and had like fish faces under there, it was said. They're gone. Apparently, one day their compound was flooded and nothing was left of them.
Fish face cultists.
People.
I think like Missouri Leaders here then scrutinizes like her knowledge and understanding of humanoids. Like, is that a thing? Like, are those just Sahagwin?
It seems like they could be scum.
Oh, yes, of course. The scum.
Yeah, but apparently they something sucked them into the sea, and
Okay.
they were real creepy,
Maybe
and nobody
that's
really
where all
wanted
the
to.
scum be fought.
No one wanted to do anything with them. I mean, what are you gonna do? People are crazy sometimes.
Naturally.
Someone wants to join a fish cult, that's their prerogative. Westgate doesn't care.
There's not going to be like people rushing out to save you in Westgate.
No.
No.
They're gonna be sad that your organs are now worthless, but
Fish cult,
That's
okay.
true.
It's your choice.
they're crazy people. I mean,
Sirik was there, yeah.
There's these guys that say that a beholder is a god, and then he eats them as a thank you or something. I mean, it's
What the hell, man?
yeah, no,
Fucking worshipping beholders. What kind of skill check would it be to know more about beholders?
dungeon.
Is it like an archon? Dungeoneering. Yeah, okay. I think this is gonna be the first time she's heard like a beholder, because I don't think her minions would have told her about like this Gedra. Like back when they were there ever so long
again,
ago.
the factions we have here are not an exhaustive list, right? They're the factions we're currently interested in. Westgate has innumerable like gangs and factions and weird creatures. There's pretty much one of everything, at least.
Yeah, so Imi's early leaders like they're worshipping a beholder and then the beholder eats them? What is a beholder that it would be worthy of worship?
Yeah.
25.
Well, I think with that, she knows beholders are, she thinks back. What is a beholder? Well, certainly they're not usually in forest. It's a typical Underdark monster. Big, round head, massive mouth, teeth, giant anti-magic eye in the middle, and a bunch of eyes that can shoot disintegration rays all around it. They hover about, are very intelligent and malicious. So, sort of for unified, they're certainly not a unified race by any account.
I just think her reaction would be like, they just let those in City? Like, Oh, civilization's different than I thought.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be sort of a nobody really wanted to tell him no situation.
All right. She thinks to herself, like, well, she could live in Westgate then, or
She
any
could,
city. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like if they just let beholders, well, they don't want to tell beholders no.
You know,
Disintegration
she's
eye
pretty
beams.
sure she could just go take a house and no one's going to ask it a question. It is about the exact opposite of that. Entirely
Yeah.
not lawful.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, after some thought, she doesn't want to deal with those eye beams either. Yeah,
Mhm.
she understands.
Yeah.
All right.
Though the word is that Getra, this one, actually doesn't really like his eye beams and has sort of let them wither a little bit, favoring his big toothy maw. He likes to eat things.
What? Oh, maybe Zeraleaf almost finds that an insult. Like, if she had, like, a draconic body, but also had, like, eye stalks that could shoot, like, powerful magic beams at people, like, she would be the best predator ever.
Yes. If even my eyes could kill.
That's right.
Yeah,
I had
I mean,
disintegration.
certainly no one says that that's a wise decision, but no one has wanted to tell him otherwise either. So
No,
most
then he
people,
might
you know,
find a use
haven't
for
met
them.
him, and you know, there's a beholder somewhere, probably. I mean, you know,
Okay. I think with that sort of like toss of a D2, I mean, Zeraleaf here is now has gotten unreasonably invested in the idea of like a predator not performing up to
The
snuff.
idea?
I hate you. I hate you so much.
That's
No.
strike 2 for tonight, Eric. 1-1.
That
you're out.
is. That's right. She's like, man, like a predator that do that? Like, he's not like making full use of its potential? Like, I gotta reach out. Maybe it might be interested in worshipping Valar. Yeah, I think so. I think that'll catch her fancy.
all right.
Gotta make a predator all it can be. And she'll think about that.
Boondoggle.
Yeah. Something to like amuse her as she travels between Naflek and the Grand Temple.
Yeah, beyond that, Westgate has trolls, it has ogres, it probably has a couple of giants, like sea giants, and you know, there's were creatures, there's humans, dwarves, tieflings, whatever you can sort of imagine is here. It's certainly a sprawling city. Most of them are human, but when you look down at any particular street, you'll probably see something that isn't in some unexpected way.
I think that is all I want to take action on, pending further things that might occur.
All right. Last time you sent a messenger or something to. Did you send a messenger to the fleet of Umberlee?
No,
Yeah.
I was not good. I was going to hold off on that until I actually had a time and location.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But otherwise, it'd be
No,
like,
I just
okay,
if you
so
had,
what is
then I hadn't noted it down, and I want to make sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems that is correct. Good. Good. I wouldn't want you to wait forever. Yeah. Then I think we will just move on. I think everyone has had we've been very zoomed in recently, so a lot of things have happened. Let's transition to another year. You can heal your factions. Oh, I should also say, Verdant Eclipse. You do patrol as well, like across the water, right?
Yes, I don't think the dragon is too concerned about like people who have to travel on boats are like a problem for them because she flies.
Yeah.
But they do keep an eye on the waters because of the aberrant entities that might right out and strike. You know, don't want to be surprised by more like Aboleths or scum. It's good to patrol out there.
Yeah. Apparently, one at some point it was spotted a significant event, which seemed to be a huge-sized. How to describe this? So take a bulette, right, and then make it into like an orca bulette. 4 legs, sort of orca face, a long like orca tail. Apparently, found an aboleth and has, well, there were some tentacles left in the water. It was, they're not really sure what happened. It mostly happened underwater. You don't really want to get in the water with those things, but yeah.
That is heartwarming news. Inspiring. Yes. Of course there are like sea bullets. She thinks to herself, having
Yes.
never considered this possibility.
That's incredible. I'm excited.
Like they just devour the aberrant creatures for me. I don't have to do anything.
Umberlee is like, get out of my water.
No,
I've been gone, and
yeah,
this is
yeah.
what I got back to.
Umberlee's disapproval with Westgate could in part be because this whole like
Mm.
blue fire. Yeah, that's great news. She wants to keep hearing more news like that.
Mm. Well, who knows? The water is big, and sort of, a lot goes
Yes.
on there, surely. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, it seems like whatever aberrant thing is trying to keep an eye on it, was coming to it.
Good.
Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think Imi's early just here like briefly considers the idea of like going down there to fetch like sea bullets, but I think the fact that it's Umberlee's domain and apparently there's a bunch of activity around there is giving her pause. Maybe not. That's a lot of effort. Great. New Year.
And beyond that, the word will be from Shadow Druids reporting to all that they are invited to a meeting, a conclave, if you will, called by Cindermoon, which will take place at some tunnels in the mountains here. She is currently located. She asks that all who are interested, and sort of, people know that means not literally everyone, but people of significant influence who wish to know of her and what she does and why, should meet here, because she believes it will provide the understanding necessary for continued cooperation.
Okay. I think with that official word, then the Green Dragon would take action to spread that message mouthpiece first to make sure that, Zalaznar knows of it,
Oh yes, he's
Sure.
heard.
whom she hasn't spoken with in some time and doesn't want to because the treant kind of frustrates her.
He is, he is has continuously furrowed brow, though maybe that's just the way the wood grew, and is continuously troubled by these troubling times.
Okay.
You
All
know,
right. Yeah, she's going to board herself out of any other attempt to interact with him. That's too. She doesn't know how to talk to Tree.
It's very slow, everything.
And, well, I think given her attitude, oh, gosh, would she go to the Fleet of Umberlee herself? No, that's too far. No, she doesn't want to go fly all the way out there. No, she would never do that. No, we're gonna nominate someone who likes to travel and fly long distances. One of the old druids who properly appreciates the connection that Malar and Umberlee share, is going to be given a prepared message to deliver to the leadership of the naval forces out there and the potential chosen of Umberlee, to inform that Emissary Leaderthir, on behalf of Malar, requests, on behalf of Cindermoon as well, the head of the Emerald Enclave, requests the presence of Umberlee's finest at like the particular meeting at this particular time.
Yeah.
Go out there, Druid.
All
If you don't come back, that'll be knowledge.
Well, it's the You'll bring some trinket to pay for his passage across the sea.
Yep.
That seems to
Don't
be
dawdle on this one, or else Cinderboom might smite you. It's not just me who's requesting this here.
It's true.
You're right.
All right. So, usually before we start with faction actions, you all get to make your decisions for what you want to do. I suppose Sheep, you're going to do things with Thunderhome. Ostensibly, that would be at the end of the year, but we can just do it whenever you feel up for it. And yeah.
And I'm happy to wait. Well, what's another year of just waiting? Although there's one thing I want to do regardless, and probably earlier.
Yeah.
Like, Velignus is aware of the Cicatrix's attempt to rebuild the structures and such. While that is happening, I think Velignus would like to get his people to police the mountain range to make sure he knows when chosen lizard folk, among other things, pop up again.
Sure.
Seems useful.
Yeah. All right, I can tell you that there is a minimum difficulty of 6 on that action.
Very high. What is policing? Might and territory?
Might and sovereignty.
Sovereignty. Alright, we're going to get the fortress going to get some more.
It makes sense to have those weapons prepared anyway, in case Thunderhome gives you a surprise answer.
Exactly. Territory and sovereignty to muster might, which is 5, which is 7. That's not something that he will bother with himself. 2 tenths.
All right, yeah. His people do investigate.
No, that's just the roll to increase might, unfortunately.
Good thing you interrupted me there.
You should have told him. I wouldn't have corrected you.
And then 7 dice to actually police. And this roll would be terrible. Yes. Double 2s.
The people who get sent out don't come back.
Wonderful.
And therefore they don't manage to cover the...
You know what? Let's try that again. 6. Double 7. Okay.
All right, yeah. This time they do. And they report actually that the other group that disappeared seemed to disappear around Emisuray's old lair in the old pipe. They went in there and they investigated and they found their remains having been torn apart by something. Seemed to be something small-ish, at least like person-sized, nothing massive. Having claws, which seemingly this ripped them apart and then retreated back into the pipes, which of course lead down below somewhere.
It's a hermit kobold barbarian.
Another group has had a similar encounter near what was Baristrix's home, which also has a path that leads down.
Okay.
They're not sure exactly what, but it seems that with this show of force, they can keep it down a little bit.
I think we'll acknowledge that for now and also inform the Cicatrix about...
Beyond that, the lake with the strange bundles and such doesn't really have the bundles anymore. They seem to have left. They didn't.
Bundles have left.
Yeah.
It's the bundles that are now attacking people.
Quite empty lakeside now.
Alright. Great.
Informed from things. Cicatrix, anything? Want to accomplish?
Yes, I would like to start. I'd like to gain some information about what the fucking avatar of Nubanian is up to.
All right, give me an espionage with a minimum difficulty of 4.
Right, I will do so. Influence and pressure.
I like the visual of like commanding the minions to do this, and the minions are like, "How the fuck are we gonna do this?"
You sail on the boat on the water. We
are inventing submarines.
No one wants to go
Yes.
into land. Yeah, what's it doing?
Boom.
Well, looking into the area, you've got a very good result here. Your people don't get captured; they manage to stay away, but they see strange things shambling across the land there. They will shudderingly describe it as things that should not be? Some sort of something that used to be human, perhaps, or maybe it's maybe it used to be a Wemmick. The fact that it is so hard to tell certainly informs on it. As for the blue fire, it seems to simply be there, and it has attracted these things rather than created them. Come out of the various bits and places they have stayed.
It's attracting Spellscored.
Yeah, I mean, those have certainly been around the world in many places, but it seems to be sort of they're collected.
Yeah.
As for a plan, there doesn't seem to be one really. The thing is fury. It is instinct based.
But
It is a
why is it
wild
marching
beast.
on this side of the wormhole? On my side of.
Well, maybe also on the other side. You just don't notice that because you don't live there.
That's fair. Okay.
So who knows? Maybe it'll go exploring at some point. But now the hill has certainly been somehow still dedicated to Malar.
Hmm.
It hasn't changed. Perhaps Malar enjoys the irony of having this powerful hunter stay. The influence is certainly bound to only make this thing more savage. After all, many people think, Malar is a deity, and yes, he is, but he very much is that sort of, why did the scorpion sting? Because it is a scorpion, and it must. Malar's way of doing things does not involve a lot of grand planning. Malar is fury, he is rage, he is sort of hunting and cunning, because that is what he is. He's a self circular reasoning sort of deity. And he did, well, that's not something the Cicatrix would know, but something I think Emmy knows, or at least suspects, that when Nobanian was his weakest, Malar did strike as hard as he could. Because when something is, that's the moment of pouncing. It's when something is weak. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, Nobanian would understand. Like, being a cat, pouncing is like. Seriously.
Nobanian would not understand. It's directly opposed to Malar's way of doing things. But right now he's a big lion of fire. So
Kills a wrong animal then.
yeah. Does Cicatrix feel like investigating herself?
No. Why would she go close to that?
All right.
And then again, it's.
I don't know why, but maybe would anyway.
No, she'll ponder upon this, and I'm assuming that my hacks know not to dream vision this thing.
Yeah, I mean you sometimes can't help it. Recently though, they have been Madruma has been again languishing, but maybe they sense doom is coming near, and maybe being on boats would be. You know what? They've heard great things about the sea recently.
With people disappearing and dying and
The
being
land.
swallowed by orcas.
They are beginning to fear that land might not be a good place.
Yeah.
Maybe land is the problem in this
Maybe
question.
being on a ship of some kind. Certainly the sea hag, now growing up, sister, or sort of calls Meladruma for auntie, but has been working on like a wet film that they can sort of flow over their faces to be underwater. So sea hag itself, of course, doesn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like a good thing. I also like.
They would like
I
to
agree
move
that water is
underwater,
great.
generally. Seems to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that sucks.
All right then. Based on my mercurial coin flip, I will take action.
Okay.
All right. First off, I will, as policing needs to be renewed every year, we'll go ahead and kick those bones out again as I continue to patrol the area around the Gulf Mirror. Not as good, but there's things to get distracted by. It's not like the dragon's going to scold them. I also think at this point, let me flip another here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. I think at this point, Ibizar Legis here is starting to think about Nova Cray. Where the hell is he? It's been like a decade or something, right? She thinks to herself, like he was like supposed to like find someone who could do things about Thayan runes, or like learn how to do it himself, like change those to mislead Thayans. Is he dead? She thinks to herself. She like ponders, like looking at like his tower of light, and then she looks at her minions. She finds folks that can travel into the mountains and through the cities, and tells them to go out into the region and see if they can find Nova Cray. He's powerful enough and he's obnoxious enough that he would make his presence known.
It's a bit of a paradox there, because Nova Cray right now is in a very hidden location.
Yeah, I know,
hiding
right?
out with the Thayan exile, Yenka. Specifically, they have spent the last couple of years just sort of trying to get things done. Yenka has been reading a book while Nova Cray has been pushing to just already make some Thayan defenses or something so I can go home. But Yenka might have taken some delight in not doing that. Instead, making sure that their place is hidden. Because when Malignant calls, she wants to be ready for the ritual to come, you know.
Yeah, I think the task to her minions will be like, look, I know that he was, when he was sent to like Valignif's lair, but really in his travels, he could be anywhere looking for these specialists. But you should start in the northern mountains. Don't ask for Valignif, though. You can find him.
I could ask for a role here, but I think it's more interesting if eventually he turns up, you know.
Yeah.
He's certainly not good at being quiet, and I think if he sees the minions, he.
Salvation.
Oh God! Yes, please.
I left the pod on 10 years ago.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I acted without your permission. And then
I'll never
I
show
think
initiative again.
She personally will travel to Westgate.
Oh well. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the city is big. People look at the dragon and get out of the way. Generally.
Yeah. Like the dragon lands. I think she finds it amusing to just like travel through like the city gates herself. You know, to sort of like look around and inspect the place.
Yeah, they're standing open. A couple of guards glance at each other. Usually they ask for bribes for things moving in, but they don't, not going to ask for
Not
bribes.
from
for dragons. No. I mean, they don't actually have to be here. But most merchants just have to accept that they get shaken down when they enter. Or leave.
Her time here is one of wonder and curiosity as this whole like civilization like kick she's on has sent her spiraling in this direction. I don't think she's gonna be subtle about it. I think that she's gonna like dip her head in like various like dives and bars and like taverns and go to like to the docks. Maybe walk past the area where the dragons previously fought and grabbed a body of a dragon, but she'll never know. She's looking to learn more about Beholder. She hears that there's a powerful and awesome one known as Gedra, and she'd like to have a word.
All right, yeah. I mean, she's willing to stay for a couple of days, I think, too.
Absolutely.
Does she find a place to sleep, or is it just sort of...
I think she takes a place to sleep.
All right, what kind of place?
Probably like probably like a rooftop of like some sort of like building that has like more like a suitable place for like her bulk to lay on, so it's like more flattish.
Yeah, there's some temples and such that have been abandoned for a while now since the gods died that were in them.
Yeah, a temple would be a very suitable place.
Whatever gang that lives there glances up and then just decide to be very quiet. Maybe even change their symbol to like a dragon face or something, so people think that they're with the dragon. You gotta adapt however you can.
Absolutely, survival and all that.
I mean, here's the thing: we're playing D&D, but these guys in Westgate, they're playing Blades in the Dark, all of them, right? So it's
the Westgate.
Here's your entanglement for today.
A dragon lives on your house. Oh, well, guess it's not secret anymore.
Do we want to make a deal with the dragon? No, we don't talk to the dragon.
No,
Don't
we
talk to the dragon.
just tell people that we have a deal. That's the dragon that once upon a time defended that city that got burned down. How do we spin this? Who knows how it goes? But certainly Westgate is a very different city from anything goes. If you're rich and powerful, that's all that matters. Really. Poor people have a crappy time, but there's generally jobs for everyone. I mean, money changes hands very quick, and so does hands.
Yeah, that probably includes ogres. I think her primary food while she's here are ogres.
Yeah,
She hates ogres. They're really stupid, and they beat her up when she was like a wormling, and no one's gonna miss ogres. I think she picks on ogres.
Imagine some people like you have like a scene in like a dark alleyway, right? Some people in cloaks are like exchanging, like someone like gives someone else a poison dagger, and someone gives someone a letter with, like lipstick on it or something. Something innocuous and very sort of stereotypically assassin thievy. As an ogre sort of stumbles through, like roaring, running through this alleyway, just pushing them out of the way as they duck into, like a doorway, like looking out, like whispering, like what in the world is that? And then the crashing sound of like a wall falling in as a dragon is trying to turn quickly, like setting off on it. Just collapsing there on top of them as the ogre is hunted down.
So I then think the ruined temple building under which like a particular gang hides is now going to be like littered with like ogre bones.
Yeah.
Dragon's gotta eat something.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually, maybe a couple days after she let out the word, someone's gonna come close enough, looking like sort of a smarmy, slick, probably like what you think of like a high stakes gambler type. They come close enough to the dragon, and someone says, "Hello up there. I heard you're looking for someone. Think I might be of assistance."
Maybe Zerai leaders here like just puts down like a large like ogre like leg, like peers over like the edge of the temple, narrows her eyes at the face and says, "That's right.
I can show you where he lives. Easy enough. I know a lot of people around here."
Zerai leaders here like scrutinizes the person, but I mean, obviously they will wish to show deference and respect to the mighty dragon. She says, "Great." And she like leaps down like off it, and she's like hauling like another like full ogre body with her that she hasn't eaten.
Also, hear you're fond of ogre, so as it happens, there's a bit of a lair nearby. Just on the way, really. So if you fancy stopping for a snack, then
Zerai leaders here says, "I'll take that under consideration. Show me the way to Getra."
He'll nod. Yes, of course, mighty dragon. This way, and he'll sort of sit into like a half sprint, figuring that better get this done quick.
Yeah, the dragon, as it turns out, is pretty speedy and can follow. Although turning through the city of Westgate is, these streets were widened by the Red Banner host.
Some of them, he will point out a couple of places where, he knows that an ogre bouncer is in there, and real bad sort. Would be a shame if someone was to hunt him down and eat him. Might make a couple of people happy, You never know whose friendships you can make. But he will make sure to do that while moving, because the dragon made it pretty clear that, maybe don't ask for anything right now. He points it out, though. Perhaps this is his angle. He hopes to eliminate some ogres for some people, and is the kind of person who thrives in Westgate by risking all on a stupid venture that somehow pays off in the end. Maybe.
Maybe.
We don't hear the stories about all the times that fails for people. They die. But the few that succeed, they become legend. He will lead her to the edge of the Sleepers Council. It's pretty easy to see. It's like basically the side of like a barn or something, and the giant eye has been painted on it with purple. Basically, the eye here, that's their symbol, probably without the little stip on top. It looks sleepy and slightly annoyed, if it's to be interpreted. So they'll say, all right, then, in here, Getra. The best way to meet him is to find someone and demand they take you. They will know where he is. I should not go further in. It would not be good for my health and general well-being, and I do so care about that.
And these are elite leaders who are like steps closer, like, find someone and demand they show me the way. Her eyes glint.
Slight shocked face turns into wide smile and says, of course, I would want nothing. It would be my pleasure, really. Fidgets a little bit, fingers a knife in a sleeve, and begins a confident stroll into this area.
These are leaders. They're like, bobs her head, like, service here is so great. She like follows the the confident man in.
He sort of knocks a couple things over as he walks, like, hello! All right, everyone, I have news. There's a visitor, a grand visitor, coming to meet your esteemed leader. So let's just get this over with and have the two introduced. And this results basically in, as expected, people show up wearing brown robes. I mean, maybe these were the fist cultists, but they certainly don't seem to have, any lack of anything. They show up. They have various clubs, stakes, spears, swords, and seem intent on capturing and butchering this guy until they see the dragon. At which point they sort of look at the dragon. This is a mighty dragon, and who wishes to speak to your esteemed leader. I implore you to lead the dragon to them. The cultists look. They don't seem to be used to this, as one of them in a low voice says, our sanctimonious lord does not wish to be disturbed. He naps, and when he awakes, he is always hungry. This one looks too. We ask, but in return for this visit, a gift of flesh so that he may feast.
I think as soon as like a gift of flesh is said, like Ymizar Eludithir like hurls the ogre body at him.
Very good, they will say, and then they will begin to butcher it, cutting pieces that they can carry. In sort of a, maybe even like to her, like she didn't expect that level of like careless savagery from these people. They seem to have no discomfort with blood or guts or body parts at all in their work. Right. And the reason that people don't bother them is not because they're particularly well trained; they just don't care. They have been completely.
I think as that butchery is happening, Ymizar Eludithir like steps up like right behind her guide, and like puts like her head like right next to his head and says, "It's a good thing that's not you."
Says, I vastly prefer this. Good insight, great insight. Might I compliment your insight once more?
She says, "You can probably go now."
Yes, of course I will. And should you need another ogre later, you know exactly where to find them. I'm so glad to have been of your service. He sort of walks backwards slightly while a couple of these knife-wielding guys look at him. Just any time. You know what? I will find you. As he sort of gets past a corner, she can hear like the running on the flagstones, right?
Dragon like slowly bobs her head. That was amusing.
Time to go report to someone that he was very successful in whatever it was he was trying to do. Who knows? I mean, we can probably cut to a chamber below ground. It's like probably like a cistern once upon a time, right? It's like a large chamber. There's a sort of a hole in the middle where the body parts are thrown into. It looks bloodied and unkept, really. And then someone gently rings a gong, like boom, very carefully as they all stand back. And from a grate at the side of this hole, there's like a long groan, like, and then sort of almost dragging out using the eyeballs as arms, the sort of eye stalks as arms, comes a beholder that's fairly big, even for a beholder. Certainly what you'd call an eye tyrant. With an oversized maw full of well-kept rows of teeth. Imagine like a shark's, like several rows of them.
Oh,
As it, they allegedly hover, beholders. But Getra, maybe he just doesn't really care to, as he halfway scrapes himself across the ground, grumpily looking as he moves out and just, in a couple of bites, devours the ogre. He certainly is, he is bigger than Imizure. No one says anything as Getra eats the snack before his grumpy eye lazily looks about at them to see what warranted this situation, or perhaps if there's more to eat. Then his eyes follow the dragon. He watches, his eye narrowing slightly. So you feel probably a strange like tingle from the central eye, right? It's like dragons are inherently magical, but as sort of looks up at the dragon before sort of lifting off the ground to hover, walking a little bit like shaken slightly as the sort of bits of gore and meat sort of fall off of him. As he moves up to hover at the dragon's level, watching it in the center of the room, about like 15 feet up. You have visited me, and you brought me food.
I am Imizure Leadrathir, servant of Malar. I dwell in the Gulfmere Forest. I'm visiting Westgate, and I thought to bring a snack for a fellow predator, which is you.
He makes sort of what probably is like the beholder version of a sort of a pleased chuckle.
That's probably horrifying.
Yeah. He says, I like gifts of food. It stops me from having to leave. I am Getra, Lord of the Sleepers. I suppose sort of wiggle about, a little bit like a fanfare, maybe jazz hands.
Yeah.
Simply says, you have visited me and may gaze upon my magnificence. He looks to right. Not sure if that's exactly what the dragon wants to do.
Imizure Leadrathir says, you are the first of your kind I have encountered. As a return for the gift of food I have delivered, I would like to learn more of you. I am new in Westgate, and have only heard exploits, tales of Getra, Lord of Sleepers. It would be best, however, if I learned about you from you.
There were two others. Now there's me. He sort of bobs up and down slightly. What do you wish to know of me?
Imizure Leadrathir asks, how long do you live? How long have you been here?
Sort of thinks maybe 200 years.
You then know of the time before the Spell Plague. It is a time I do not know. Was the city much different then?
His eyes sort of blink slightly, as if it's like, oh yeah, I guess I do. Yeah, he looks at the dragon, getting a little curious, perhaps, about this dragon. Yes, I remember. Things were different. The water was different. There were more ships. More people of note. I had less power then. I was smaller. I had not yet eaten the others. Just as if it is is a regretful truth.
It is good things are different now. I can see how you burgeon with power from having eaten the others.
These are glances. It was mostly for. Just used to think of the catharsis. I enjoy eating powerful things.
Oh.
It makes me feel good.
Emuzure rapidly nods and says, "Yes, Malar instructs all about hunting and predation. It is my regret, then, that I could not bring something more powerful for you to eat than an ogre."
He bops his head and says, "My people mostly bring me whoever dares interrupt me. I would accept more." So it says, and I'm sure he gets the idea that this thing doesn't know the feeling of not being hungry.
Ah. Sorry, Leader Thir says, "Yes, of course, of course." And she looks around, looks at the minions, looks back at Getra, and says,
They all stand with their heads bowed deeply before their master.
"It looks as if you do not need to leave often, then, that you have your minions properly trained to feed you as you need."
He nods, bobs again, and just says, "Yes, they take care of the boring things. Once I was called by others in this city to tell them what not to do. Now I do not have to. Most know that to awaken me pointlessly is to die." Why act when there is no need?
Oh my god, this dude is fucking Emuzure just your spirit animal.
I literally was thinking about how on earth should I interact with this thing, and then it occurred to me, like earlier this week, I even think I told Manica, I was like, wait, I should just pretend it's Emissary. Doesn't want to do anything at all. If it can at all be fucking avoided.
So Emuzure just here like bobs her head and grins and says, "I had worried upon my visit to the city that I could not find a kindred spirit, one who enjoyed the same pleasures that I do. Though I am gladdened to see that one does exist, that not only can rule over others, but also understands what is truly pleasurable in life."
Food, rest, and worship. So this is exercising power. Sort of wiggles when necessary.
Of course.
His eyes glance at the dragon and says, "Most I have met of your kind, they regard me with fear. They are dark, and they are scheming, active, and always thinking. They are exhausting."
Emuzure Luther says, "Agreed. I have the displeasure of knowing black dragons, and they are ever so tiring, Getra."
They are bitter and bite the tongue. As he shakes slightly.
Okay. Emuzure just here, looking at this droopy beholder. She thinks to herself that she's probably not gonna try and squeeze or try and manipulate this Getra. Getra seems purely committed to things that Emuzure Leaderthir admires, which is not doing anything unless necessary.
No.
And so Emuzure doesn't think that this is gonna become a prime worshipper of Malar and wonderful alpha predator that's gonna terrorize the city unless properly motivated. And she isn't gonna do that. She says, "I will allow you to return to your slumber then, provided that you have no questions for me. I will depart, having left my gift, and receive my answers."
Who are you? Cheryl said
I am-
battle.
As noted, I am Imizure Leaderthir. I serve Malar. I dwell in the Gulfmere Forest south of here.
That really gets her there. His eye sort of blinks slightly. Says, "Why?"
Why?
Why do you live in the woods?
She says, it allows me to hunt, which I enjoy. It also affords my minions the opportunity to hunt, and thus amuse me. If I lived in the city, I would have to perform a different kind of hunting. Besides, if I lived here, we would share space, and thus must be rivals. In the forest, we are not rivals.
Sort of looks and has a moment here with you two to decide if he's horrified or delighted by that prospect. She sort of looks and says, I want to visit. There might be things there I have not had.
Imizure says, I would absolutely be delighted to receive your company. My grand temple is erected in the ruins of Starmantle, since it was reduced to ash. There are many foods, many delicacies, that I have my minions prepare, or I prepare, to eat, and I would love to share that with someone.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds great to Getra. He'll sort of, his eye stalks, give it like a slight twitch of excitement as he looks around, looks down at the bloodied floor, perhaps, sad that there's nothing left. She just looks at it. She says, I will come alone. These need to prepare for my return. Glances up at the bowing figures. He seems to regard them not really as like anything. He has no feelings of loyalty to them. They exist to serve him, and he knows that, and that's they're so lucky.
Imizure Leaderthir says, if a message could be prepared in advance and delivered through one of your minions, I could have a feast prepared on your arrival instead of having to wait for the food.
I think he just sort of sags a little bit. That sounds like work. As he glances up at one of his minions, still bowing, says, I'm sure they will tell you.
He
doesn't actually
delightful.
deal with anything like that. He just sort of does what he does, and then they make sure that. So.
Mm-hmm. I look forward to receiving you then, Getra. I will allow you to return to your rest.
He glances around. He's still hungry now that he talked about food more, and these people know what that means. As several of them will hurry out to find someone or something to satiate their mighty god.
Imizure Leaderthir departs.
Hmm.
And I think she'll stay in the city for like another day. She'll probably eat a few more ogres, and that'll probably turn out to be some of the ogres that were pointed out to her because minimal effort. Like, that's where the ogres are? Okay. And then she'll head back for home.
All right. Yeah. I mean, somewhere Investigator guy is giving you a flashing smile and saying, "Yeah, see, I told you it would work." Having succeeded great in his mission to kill those ogres. Yeah, and Getra now wants to go to the woods to have a picnic.
A beholder and a dragon having a picnic. That's horrifying.
Sounds like the
all is
beginning to a
fancy.
joke that I really want to hear.
Yeah, and probably not long after, honestly. He's not a patient creature when he gets his mind to something. He gets pretty obsessed with whatever he's currently doing.
Yeah.
The news will arrive that Getra is going to come visit. The supreme intelligence, Lord Getra of the Sleephouse Council.
That's delightful. I think that means then that Emisore Legiothir is going to nudge Naflik for tribute for the first time. But this in the case is going to be for to temporarily borrow, which you'll return chefs, because she wishes to experience their culinary delights once more with the assortment of like meats and spices that she has in the forest, and she wants to see firsthand like how it is they prepare food and prepare a lot of it.
Chefs will arrive. It is not something Nathlik right now needs more of. So,
Right, in the grand scheme of things, the dragon could demand for, I think.
oh yeah,
You know, you're just giving the poor, like, luxury chefs work.
That way they go through the wide gallery of innumerable meats we have access to in the forest. All for entertaining the dragon as well as the beholder.
yeah. I mean, the beholder arrives on a boat that has like a big tent on the top of it, where the beholder is being fanned and pampered by his people, being like fed globs of something. Until he gets here, because he can't stop drooling, because he's so excited to try whatever food it is that he's being offered.
We can have a picnic by like the coastline to overlook like the shore, like the tent, like the pavilion can be set up to like shade him.
Yeah.
The wide gallery of various fleshes prepared in their assortment of different ways from Naflan
Mm-hmm.
could be carted out.
He is the opposite of a picky eater, but he does appreciate different flavors. He's delighted at this attention. I think for Cicatrix, we'll get this news from Sethiston. We'll inform her that it would appear that Getra has had a visit from Emisuri Lidrothir and has apparently left on his boat sailing south. Yeah.
Which will put the Cicatrix in much the same position that I am in. I was like, oh, I was gonna talk. Oh. Having prepared her speech and like, okay, we're gonna get ready, we're gonna give the news about sail. It's like, oh, he's gone. We're like, what?
He's gone on a visit.
He's never left the city before.
People usually don't notice because he just sort of goes into the Underdark to do beholder things.
Well, I suppose she will put those things off of her to-do list for now. And she will compliment herself on her thought that those two were oddly similar. Turns out it was true.
Well,
and
metagame-wise, you can probably still go through the plan, because I don't think Getra's going to be living here. I think.
No, though he is the kind of house guest that...
No, you know he overstays his welcome.
Yeah.
There's food, and people preparing it.
Yeah, he certainly enjoys that quite a bit. Even if like, and when they're when the meal is done, I will sit and go. He will go into the forest and just find something to bite, even if it's like he will uproot a tree. He hasn't really been around a lot of those.
Absolutely. The dragon would be willing to entertain Getra for up to a 10-day, at which point I think subtle pressures would begin to be put on.
Yeah, so probably like
10
12 days after. There will be enough of a nudging. Apparently they're out of food, and he's had what sport he could with whatever animals he could, be mean to. He certainly does have his eye rays. He just tries to slow things with them, and then he sort of gobbles them up. Prefer again, faster to eat his to bite things.
Yeah, I think that's a good experience for Emisore, for like she's never seen like a beholder like how it would fight before, how it would go after something, and so like watching like Getra like slowly wobble after things to slow them down to then like eat them.
He's powerful enough as it happens. He's no slouch. He's sort of a mid paragon tier.
He's just never had to apply himself for a long time.
He doesn't really. He's old, and as a beholder, that makes him powerful. To the point where he'd never really had to, like, he's fought like a monster. Again, when he gets obsessed with something, even if it is killing someone, he does not stop. He has a burst of energy that seems unending. But when he isn't motivated to do something, he just sort of enjoys hanging out. Maybe she could even find out the story of the Centaurum attacked him almost sort of randomly. His lair happened to be there, and when he was done, they no longer existed.
Wow.
There only like fractions of them remained before he was satisfied.
Yeah. I'll tremble before the power of your hunger.
All his work, surely. Wow.
No, it's simply that he didn't stop before. I mean, sometimes it wasn't going great, but the tenacity, the bullheaded, behavior is probably what
Imagine.
Yeah, Emmy's early leader definitely sees value in him. Getra is like a very powerful, like, Bulette in his own way. Just keeps eating and eating and eating, only he just has, like, eye rays and he can hover.
Yeah.
This is what Emissary could have been if she had vicious eye rays.
Being a dragon is certainly better, but, I mean, if you couldn't be a dragon...
Yeah.
Like if you got to pick a character creation and couldn't be a dragon, maybe it'd be Beholder.
Looking at it like,
Yeah.
Right. He is certainly, I mean, deceptively even with his behavior, he is very intelligent and he is powerful. It's just that he usually doesn't apply it to anything he does.
Well, he doesn't have to. Yeah.
If he was threatened to his life, Emissary gets the feeling that he could be, very clever and very scrupulous and very, good at solving his own problems. But he just doesn't want to. Yeah,
I think the 10-day that turns into a 12-day of feasting and visiting, and without any attempt for Emissary Leader Veer to like manipulate the Beholder, at least not at this time. She wanted to see like how this predator would function, and you see there's some sadness there, but there's also room to like, if he could be threatened somehow, then he would take action obsessively. She would just need to find a way to motivate him to become the predator.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Ari, was there something you wanted to do?
Yeah.
I'll sit a little bit now, I think.
Yeah, I thought out of character, like, whether Emissary Leader would contact Vercingetorix, but she doesn't know, like, that Vercingetorix wants to do anything with the Beholders.
Oh,
and
no.
Their relationship also, like, had a rough turn a few years back in Affleck. And Emissary Leader is not going to be the one to call.
Yeah, they're never going to talk again. Poor Vindictive.
I can't say never. They're probably going to end up talking again due to the very nature of this campaign.
Vindictive should tell him it's serious. Like, you can talk to myself. No.
Oh, God. Let's be back there. Well, what is Vindictive gonna be? I mean, do you want to do the Thunderhome? Is that the next step here?
Yeah, if Thunderhome wants to do something, then Vindictive will be there to receive messages and or gifts.
Yeah, I mean, Thunderhome's going to try to be. I mean, there's a sense of trepidation now. Some people are scared. I mean, reasonably so. But more than that, it seems that most of the nobles here have decided that Malignant's offer. I mean, what does it really mean that they follow him? I mean, they all seem to mostly agree anyway. And, it's like, how bad could it be? There are people who go along with this currently because they're afraid. There are people who genuinely think that this is going to be great. The dragons love money. They love money. So everyone can just have more prosperity than before. And then there are some that are afraid not of Valignith, but of what would happen to them without him. And that's sort of the main points of view, which tend to agree here. They haven't had a voting on it. They certainly have had meetings, and even though Valignith is invited, if he goes to them, not a lot is decided, because no one really wants to speak too much of their mind. Though a couple do, and it's mostly the ones that.
Oh, he wouldn't go to any more meetings at this point. Like he has said the words he wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think given that Thunderhome is not going to have a particularly effective year, doing much more than coming to terms really with the future and the way it's gonna pan out. Yeah. Is there? I mean, anything you two want to do, or should we just move along with everyone else then? Hello.
Hello. I mean, I'm just waiting on Thunderdome to give up, basically.
I mean, yeah. I mean, give up in what terms? You want to move along with the mechanics of what's happening here, because as a thing, you're expecting their answer, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, eventually there will be a short message, right? It won't even be anything fancy. It will just be something like, the Council of Thunderhome has found unanimously that they accept the protection and wise leadership of Willingness.
Wonderful. Okay.
It probably is maybe a little bit. I mean, it's short, direct, and maybe a bit. Well, like it's not jubilant, right? It's more of an acceptance, right?
If there's one thing that Willingness generally enjoys, it's short and direct.
All right. Well, he certainly seems to get that. Yeah. And I suppose he just moves into. I mean, does he send his own people in there to take control, or is it more like they just do what he tells them to? He keeps their existing structures in place.
Yeah, he's not actually going to change anything, really. He just expects that now, if he wants something from them, they will deliver.
Okay.
Like, they will still be the council, they will still have their meetings about mundane things, and really, if everything goes his way, then Thunderdome won't even feel that anything changed.
There's no need to move his people in because they are now his people.
Yeah, like, he now owns everything as he has before, so nothing changes. This is just how it has already been.
Then I will remove their colors from the map here. They no longer need it.
What's the new faction name gonna be, Sheep?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
That will be something.
United under silver.
You also get with them the hobgoblins. The South
Yeah.
Yeah, they are part of Thunderhome directly, though they mostly don't stay in Thunderhome. They stay down at their fort. They pay tribute to Thunderhome, that they mostly get from like doing minor hunting and work in the mountains. Beyond that, they are whenever Thunderhome has military activities, they're part of it. They're basically part of Thunderhome's military score.
Yeah, pretty good.
All right,
Speaking
so the
of scores,
changes
I guess, mechanically.
Yeah, mechanically, the changes to the Dragonfane. First, you lose a point of sovereignty.
Yes.
As the faction is less cohesive.
That is understandable.
Yeah. So that is a permanent decrease. Then you increase your territory by 1.
Territory. Well, it'll be 3, but that won't take effect yet. There we go.
And your influence remains the same. You didn't increase your territory? Or do I just not see it yet?
I haven't clicked OK yet.
All right. Your treasury remains the same, but your might goes up by 1.
That is great.
Holy Lord!
So add the
Monster.
dollars to your own force. Yeah.
Nice and red.
I like the site too. Let's fulfill it. There you go.
Yes, I own the piles of rubble that is the band. one of my most treasured places. I guess.
So many memories there.
Yeah. You know, looking out across his land, you know, what the eye touches belongs to Viligath.
Yeah, it's a nice 50-50 split of the mountains currently. Well, it's sort of 50. Yeah, pretty close actually.
Metaphysically. Yeah, I think that might take his faction. Like, I don't think the Dragonfane faction can do much more this year. I mean, that's, there's a lot of minor issues with how things work just from the trying to, because you absorbing them, right, is basically you moving them together, beginning to run the supply lines and such through the same infrastructure. And yeah, maybe the city of Thunderhome works the same, but maybe the hobgoblins are no longer, subservient to the dwarves, but to Malignith, and there's the old broken watchtower there, and such. A lot of things are sort of being moved together. Beyond that, the news are probably not even really gonna go anywhere. I mean, the dwarves are not gonna be super loud about it, and it's just sort of how things are now. Yeah, I'll ask though, how you have policing here of Malignith, which I assume represents him putting his troops at these various sites to actually sort of march around the mountains and look for trouble to take care of.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, an arduous task to be sure, but one that has currently succeeded. There will be the occasional sort of small skirmish amongst various mountain critters. It's certainly not as civilized as an ordered place.
I mean, mountain critters and like small tribes and such. I don't really care about those, but anything that seems organized and most likely coming from below, that would be worthy of his attention.
Mm-hmm.
We still hear about that, like, tentacle dragon.
People haven't really seen him for a while, though he might still be around. I mean, Malignith sort of knows where he would be, probably around where he would be, but it's been years, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I just remembered.
There's not any reason to engage with that guy or dragon. I don't know if he has a gender.
Fair.
It has a gender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you want to seek it out,
No.
where it is that at least according to the lizard folk that a hell lies below the mountain, below their old home in the lizard folk sort of jungles. There, that name for it. But where the lizard folk live, below there lies a black tower full of writhing worms, where you go with the slaves to offer them. Or with your own people, if you do not have the slaves to pay. Below that point is hell. You do not want to go. That's sort of their mythology. Sure. All right, that's happening though. Is the Marked doing anything else?
Not for now, I think. I mean, Malignith is sort of policing the mountains, I suppose. I don't think the Marked would be personally doing much in terms of recreating ritual sites. I think that's mostly Vesicatrix's task, as they're not builders at all.
I mean, that said, we have marked these down here with your white color, which means that your people are there, like on the old watchtower, and
yeah,
they have contact in the Goblin Crags, and and even like sometimes visit the tribes to just check that they're still following orders.
Yeah.
As a show
I
of force. Certainly.
Would it be appropriate if I also police?
You have a difficulty of 4.
Might and sovereignty.
It manages it as a bit of forces. I mean, the place is difficult. Goblins are certainly everywhere these days, but you have locals who can keep an eye on things. Probably mostly, workforces and such moving about down there. They look around. They keep an eye on if anyone tries anything.
Yeah.
All right. Let's squeeze this back over here. Mountains. They did their job there. Paid. Well, it's time to make use of that pay. Dan's host, just settling in. The domes no more. Alcazar doing its thing. Hey. Yeah. We have word is that there is a bounty. Thayan liches are in this area, and the Thayan, enclaves are looking for information about lost members who are thought to be lost somewhere in the mountains, Giants Run Mountains. Now, if you give them information that lead to them being discovered, you will be richly rewarded by Thay. In services, in monetary payments, or even in arcane rituals done to your benefit. I mean, really, they promises quite a lot if they can find these lost members. Beyond that, of course, there is the standing offer that if you want to be friend of Thay, give them a renegade. Any renegade will do. And that's why they're here. Beyond that, the local sort of magic economies are crying a little bit, because with the Thayans, it's basically outbidding the local mages, forcing them to begin moving elsewhere. At least people still need magic items in Waterdeep. But you'll notice that the gnolls are patrolling sort of out from Seer Fort. So beginning to keep an eye on the region, almost as if they make their presence known as sort of a local authority. Preparing the marks of. Beyond that, it seems that they have been happy to install the Church of Bane as the main faction.
I think I will take action, Manikai.
Okay.
I've previously taken action before in Westgate this year. Thay has made public declarations, and by no means, the dragon is not going to be surprised about anything Thay wants to do, because she knows that she's at the center of it because of the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't know how Thay intends to accomplish their goals. Thay's got to be making use out of individuals within Westgate. I'm speaking as from the dragon's perspective. They've got to be making use out of agents in this area. So I think what she's gonna have her faction do is look into this supposed black network that used to be a part of the Zentarum that Getra told her about. And has been to learn the secrets and see what connection there is between Thay and this black network, because the black network could end up going anywhere in this region. That includes Batfleck. And so she needs to know what to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, the Black Network certainly has begun reaching its long arms out and keeping those Centaurum connections alive, right?
Yeah. And so I think the secrets that I'm looking to learn here are where those connections go in this region. of like the Dragon Coast. Like she needs to know like because if Thay is employing the Black Network and the Black Network can like pull strings or ties everywhere, like she needs to be able to identify that so that she can stop it. Like say if they try to influence Naflek.
I mean, that sounds like an espionage role here,
Absolutely,
and it's certainly going to be opposed.
no secrets
They
there.
don't want to give up.
Yeah. Let's see. Do I want to do something about it myself? I think so. I think Emissary Legithier with her time in Westgate will personally interfere in this. That'll be 8 dice. Triple 8s, double 6s, double 3s.
All right. Well, they're better at performing espionage than they are at defending against it.
I know, influence and territory, how dare.
It's a rough mix. Yeah, okay. You look around and learn that they have connections in Comir, in Sembia, along this road here to Erebor, across the sort of troll wastes, and even up north and across secret paths through the Anrog Desert, leading them to the Salt Coast. They don't have a lot of connections further here. They have some north in the Moon Sea, up by Sentinel Keep. But yeah, their influence network is very wide.
Okay.
Not in Nathland particularly. They haven't really looked there. They're more along the major routes.
I think that is going to be the driving impetus behind Emissary Legithier picking up the Sending Stone and letting whoever's on Team Velignith know that she intends to visit the Dragonfane in a 10-day to speak with Velignith. And she understands that Velignith may be busy, but she would like to commune with him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get the response that she is always welcome in the Dragonfang.
Yeah. More of a, hey, just in case, he might be out doing something. She doesn't want to make the trip and then have to wait. Be terrible. She is great at waiting. I won't flip back to the Serpent Valley map. I know how the hell this damn thing looks. I can stare at my token on this screen. As the green dragon swoops across in eagle form so as not to attract concerned people or the eyes of suspicion that might wonder why this dragon is traveling. Then arrive at the Dragonfane and then polymorph, landing in the center. Or near the center, rather.
How does Emissary feel flying over her old home and seeing that the hole on top is now like has that bluish glint of fire in there?
You remember the attitude that Amrath and Emissary Legithier had about the trees, where we don't think about it, we don't look at it?
Yeah.
That is the attitude that she pursues. She doesn't think about it, she doesn't look at it.
It's gonna be flying south around, maybe.
Yep. We're gonna take this way and curve upward.
All right. Yeah. She can see there the marked, scarred face mark on the old, Fire Giant Tower, and then slightly north of that, the old hill and orc fort being slowly manned by dwarven phalanx. A couple bull riders and such with the mark of, well, I guess currently just a red banner until we actually get to see what the Dragonfang gets rebranded.
All right. Yeah. She thinks to herself, it's only been a few years and much has changed around here.
Yeah, she will find Velignith where Velignith is mostly found. While there's a lot of work to be done integrating Fandom and such, that's not what Velignith himself does. He's taking a day off, so to speak, although it's not a day, it's like in Dragon time scale, it's a day.
Right. Probably as like the hustle and bustle of like bureaucracy and integration happens around. Alright. Emissary Legithier lands, looks at Velignith in his gentle repose in the center. Tilts her head quizzically. Says, much has changed in the short time I've been gone, Velignith.
Yes, sadly, that is the state of things these days. Things changing quickly, not always for the better, although in this case, things have progressed in a direction that I'm actually content with for a change.
Then I'm glad for you and with Cicatrix both. I see her presence over the watchtower ruins that Victus once had.
Yeah, she is getting involved in keeping the Death King contained, which is appreciated.
I am here concerning matters of... She, looks around, the central, area and says one word, Thay.
Yes, it is, quite frankly, what I'm contemplating right now. It is a difficult topic.
He walks closer to Valignith and says, I have made visit to Westgate, and I have done some... I've sent my minions on researching how Thay will accomplish their goals. They seem to have, at their behest, through payment, some former element of the Zentarum known as the Black Network.
I've also heard that they've been trying to establish themselves in the area by making friends with everyone through deals and gifts. I mean, you remember what happened in this very place. The gift was sizable indeed, and were the circumstances different, I perhaps would have ended up having a positive relation with Faye. Obviously, that is problematic.
Of course. Thay has considerable wealth to spread, and from what we were informed of, and what we've experienced, they are deeply invested in learning more. To that end, their deals, their values, can entice everyone that is not so invested as us. I only have... The specific concern I have, regarding... She, shakes her head rapidly, no, there are many concerns. This Black Network, however, from what I have heard and from what I have investigated, is very influential, and has resources all across the Dragon Coast, and beyond it as well. If there is to be investigation, if no adventuring group springs up to try and discover this truth or fetch Thay and Liches, it will come from them, no doubt.
What do you propose, then?
She says, I believe if we resolved that faction and prevented it from doing its investigation, that Thay would not be able to turn to it for resources, and would thus have to use their own in investigating, and we've been able to handle their investigators.
They are located in Westgate. I have concerns that attacking them my way would not work that well if they're entrenched among a whole other host of factions who might want to get involved.
Perhaps so, Valignith. However, your reputation is certainly known by this point. Cormyr is thoroughly distracted, and I can't imagine they would be displeased if you were to take approach, considering that the current that Thay and the Church of Bane is what's the power in Westgate right now. Whether handling it your direct way is for the best, I could not say. Whether it should be our primary focus, I also could not say, given the many problems we face. I did think to bring them up, however, because removing the power of the Black Network would harm the Thayan's ability to perhaps find your... And she, looks around quizzically. Your pet exiles? Obviously, they're not here, but she says that anyway.
Yes. I do like anything that would hurt or hinder Faye.
I would not know how to manipulate this black network. I do not have the. I do not know what specifically they would want. If it's just wealth, I could not outpay Faye. I believe our way to resolve them would be by crushing them. Or
I
at
did
least
for a while
convincing.
want to get a foothold in Westgate for multiple reasons. It has obviously its position as a trade hub, which I've come to appreciate over time, as well as what lies below it. I still don't know much about it. I've had vague promises that I would hear something, maybe, but perhaps that would go quicker if I could actually have a.
In these areas like face, given like Volignus, like in passive insight, her face like rapidly twitches and says, "Yes, beneath Westgate." Of course.
Do you know anything about it?
She says, you may wish to have that conversation with Versicatrix. I do not know specifics, only what Versicatrix told me.
And what did she tell you?
Several years ago, before we fought that lizard vampire on the mountains, she investigated a Thayan portal that was beneath Naflek, the capital city of Naflan. The portal, which she opened and then dived to, led to some sort of alternate place. She was pursued, she was chased from that place. She dove into another portal, which she says was beneath Westgate. And beneath Westgate was some sort of massive entity that communed with her mind, that was apparently containing all of the blue flame that otherwise wanted to eat the energy from the portal, much as it devoured the energy beneath Starmantle. Versicatrix, at least from my understanding, is firmly convinced that if action is not taken, then a catastrophe similar to what occurred in Starmantle could happen in Westgate.
Volignus appears to be growing more confused with every word. He tilts his head and says, I was looking for a tomb, not some extra-dimensional portal that spews energies.
He says, I understand. This portal is connected to us, the ritual, in some fashion.
Oh.
It would be unsafe to traverse through given the blue flame, but perhaps we could render it safe.
We've dealt with blue flame before. You've dealt with blue flame before.
She says, I have, though I did not purge the fire from the ashes of Starmantle myself. I merely paid the price of doing so.
Either way, it's not not an impossible obstacle. You've solved it before, you could solve it again. Either way, it is yet another reason to perhaps establish a foothold in Westgate. A lot of interesting things appear to happen in that city.
Yes, it is possible that there are other elements that have noticed this aberrant, presence, this influence, and have taken action to resolve it. I could not confirm specifically, but I have taken a notice as well. Versicatrix's misgivings and concerns may be correct. And as you said, it is yet another reason to exert our own control over Westgate. It is unfortunate that Versicatrix had to relocate as she did, The Thayans being there, though, it is understandable. It would be good to see her properly installed. Or in whatever capacity she desires.
When do you think we should act? As soon as possible?
Amy's earlier says, I don't know. Based on the fact that the Thayans won't stop this investigation until they have their answers, then they are probably willing to expend whatever wealth necessary to get their answers. I don't know whether that will result in the Black Network acting upon this even more immediately, but I am confident they have already in the past. Maybe not now, considering the problems here in the mountains that you and Versicatrix share, but soon.
The problems in these mountains are not ones that can be tackled by soldiers. Although, should the problems escalate, then said soldiers would certainly not be amiss.
Then, perhaps soon would be good, with sooner being an emphasis, so that Thay cannot take the proper preparations perhaps to salvage the Black Network. If we strike and remove the Black Network's ability to exert influence and solve problems, then Thay will have to investigate themselves, or pay others less capable.
I'll consider it.
Of course.
I would want Versicatrix's opinion on this.
Absolutely, she would know the city better.
And we need to get Zephyr involved.
She blinks rapidly, completely having forgotten about this person. Right, Zethasden. Yes.
There's also a vampire who owes me a location of a tomb. Perhaps he could be more enticed to work quicker if there were some benefit to us removing the Black Network, which I'm sure there is. People in Westgate can't particularly like each other, I'm sure.
No, in my visit there directly, it is a suitable location for any of us to travel and traverse and live in. I spoke with a beholder there of considerable size and power, and he has worshippers that feed him just fine. No one can tell him different.
I don't think I'd like to live in Westgate.
No. Certainly not.
Very well then. On the way there, I will pay a visit to Redencia, I think. I've heard that people have gotten the grand idea of repopulating that place.
Yes, the gnolls that Thay has sent out act as a fortification there. I would figure they would perhaps be interested in reinvigorating the trade that was broken with the bridge, but then she thinks about what's happening at the Warm Hill, and then she erases it. Right, so that instead of, I have many concerns, but that's why I came here. She stumbles over that last bit.
Yes, so many problems that need to be solved. Would have helped if I hadn't been stuck on a mountain for the past few years.
Do you anticipate any others coming for the summit anytime soon? Will we have to guard it once more?
It is reasonably guarded to the point where a single lizard folk shouldn't be able to simply run up to the protective runes and scratch them, which is better than before, although it's by no means impenetrable. I had expected more attacks, but none came. It might be that they're simply biding their time. It might be that there's going to be a different approach used.
He says, very well.
The only way to properly solve this problem would be to go down and destroy the Death King. Which, of course, I don't know if we would be able to do it. But sooner or later we have to.
Would re-establishing these ritual sites perform the same task?
It would certainly keep it contained for a decade, a century, a millennium. But sooner or later it's going to go wrong again, and sooner or later we'll have to go down there and kill him. Well, I suppose he can't be killed. I've been pondering about that, actually. He has done some miserable things to us, and I would like to repay him for those things. But where usually you would start considering what to do to someone with, well, the obvious first step would be threatening death, or death of something dear, destruction of property and all that. None of that works here. He can't die. He doesn't like anything. He's immortal.
My limited understanding of the situation, Valignith, the best punishment which could be delivered unto this entity would be to reinforce the imprisonment that the hierarchy established, to strip away the opportunity that this being has to exert power and influence, to cage it back up. Perhaps then we would have the opportunity to find a more permanent solution, one that the giants could not muster.
Yes, we need a permanent solution. You put a lot of confidence in cages, Emmy. I don't.
Missouri says, well, they did hold you for some time.
They failed to hold me for longer.
Because you had the capable, she sort of like barks in laughter, insightful minions to spring you free.
Because my influence developed to the point where I freed myself, indirectly.
She says, yes, well, you and Wisikatrix are better jailers than the giants are. And I would certainly have more faith in a new prison to temporarily hold this entity than what the giants managed to accomplish. To that extent, establishing an influence in Westgate might allow the acquiring and importation of, well, maybe not through the sea, she scowls, but of resources that could be used to help rebuild the prison.
Perhaps.
I will go then. She rotates to leave, though perhaps she shakes her head and says, advice that out of concern that your pet exiles, wherever they may be, that if any are so found, that if anyone alive in this region knows of them and their whereabouts and where they might have gone, that Thay may be able to extract information. Thay is making friends.
I'll acknowledge your advice.
Farewell for now. And she lifts off and leaves.
It is, of course, known, I think, by the dragons that harboring exiles of Thay is akin to being an exile.
Yep, it's punishable by the same
They do
thing.
not. They do not put any fingers in between, which is why most people don't do it. It just generally isn't worth it, because much as people would like they to be less strong, most people aren't willing to, sacrifice life and limb to make it happen.
I mean, that's for someone else to make happen. Like Cormyr, that's their job, not...
Well, Cormyr is busy trying to stop the world from falling into darkness, so...
I know. That's the general logic of everyone. It's like, well, I mean, yes, we want Thay to get destroyed, but, not by me.
Cormyr will do it.
We need...
Yeah, and it's not like most people like the old Thayans either. yes, the new Thayans, with their focus on necromancy being supreme, are quite terrible. But you know what? The old Thayans were also the worst. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of sympathy for a lot of these exiles. It feels a lot like it's their problems. They're,
Oh, if you're a magi and you want to be liked, then you either stay in and pay people a lot of money, or you don't wear red robes. Like, yeah, that's
they're certainly,
If- all over the continent. Everyone knows a red robe. Oh my god, bolt. Oh no. Okay, well,
it opens some doors and shuts others. But yeah, there's a real hunt going on. If Malignant just checks up on Yenka, you're informed actually that she's heard that a group of exiles north, in northern, I guess just in what really called the Savage North, are planning a secret strike against them. They're working. They think maybe they can get in far enough to strike at Zastam and take out the head of the snake. She's there's some powerful people involved with this plot, and maybe that's why Faye is getting more and more antsy about them, because if they know anything, it is that these people are not stupid, right? There are various magi of certain types, enchantment and transmutation and such. And I mean, you know yourself what a Tharchin, sort of a high-level Solkier of Thay is capable of, because your dragons are sort of a result of one. Exercising that magical ability. Certainly one that had the right power for the right time and found some opportunities, but Yaffle had colleagues who also didn't like Faye, though she never really became a rebel because she sort of, I guess some might say she died a rebel. There wasn't really time to have a lot
Once
of
a rebel, always a rebel.
declarations there, but they're planning something. Yenka doesn't believe that her power would be able to really shift it one way or another, though. But if it works out, I mean, that would be fantastic. In which case, you could just go home. If it doesn't, and that's sort of what she's expecting, just a bit pessimistic there. But she will maybe have a plan B here. Free Tiamat and then beg for a favor from the Dragon God. It still seems like the best plan.
Take a piece of advice from Belignif. Good things don't happen unless you force them to happen. If you're not involved, it's not going to happen.
But you're not going to force a dragon to do anything.
Yeah.
Piece of advice from human: don't force the dragon to do anything.
Yeah, and right now, being Yenka is very tenuous, because you'd like to go to Westgate and try investigating the underground there, but it just isn't really a good time to be an exile and Westgate. She lives in a cave with Novacree, who I guess he was told to come home, wasn't he?
Yeah, like when the minions finally do found is basically just be like, come home.
I think so.
The dragon wishes to speak with you.
But she's stayed with Novacree for the most part, keeping secret, reading this book, and trying to stay hidden and secret so that she does not get killed before she gets the chance to someday invoke these rituals. She doesn't like all the necromancy in it, though. Not a fan of that. What can you do?
I mean, it was just a part of this specialization. Like, they took a route of necromancy, and
I mean,
as a corporation, you have to make tough choices sometimes.
the Book of Dragons certainly was written by Sen Master, who was a big fan of necromancy. So there's a lot of that in there. Yeah. All right. Is Pacificatrix going to be informed of this new focus on Westgate?
If anyone does it, it probably should be Valignith, whether once he makes up his mind, whether it should be where it should rate on his list of concerns, because Valignith has many concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we can put this one to the top. But Valignith would like to speak with Pacificatrix first before anything is done there. Probably send like a message to invite her to the Dragon thing.
Honestly, at this point, you can probably just probably has like a flag that can just be raised on one of the outposts that's visible.
When
Black
the
flag
fires
with
appear.
a skull and
It's
crossbones.
a marked
That's-
flag,
Yeah.
but the background is red. So that's how you know the Lignif wants to speak with them. Oh, okay.
That's,
I like that. That's good.
then signal.
Simple.
Relicnith can just breathe fire on a little pyre, which is then seen the light from there nearby the dam, which then,
Oh, that's
you
good.
know, at this sort of quick.
Look to the
situation.
west when the fires of the dragon thing
Yeah,
appear.
the beacons.
All right, that means that we
The
need to
Lignif calls
contact the
for a
dragon.
meeting.
Or he uses the sending stone. I guess that also works. But
Yeah.
Regardless,
Yeah. Investigation will show.
not more dwarves here now.
Yeah, they're slightly. You noticed they're slightly they're smaller than most people she interacts with. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Look at these humans that are slightly different. Oh, who cares?
yeah, they're little. Like they're studgier.
All right.
Seem good for throwing, probably.
It's actually hard too. They are very
They're
sturdy. and
pretty heavy. Yeah,
to stand well.
she,
Would they good
she's
sailors,
like, and
you
she
know?
inspects them. So, yeah,
Good
very
sailors.
wide
they don't
feet.
slide easily.
Yeah. Well, then they're probably good at something else. I mean, they look slightly adjacent to Drogar, right? He doesn't say that aloud.
Yes, very. But I assume Malignant is just where he usually is.
Yeah,
To be found.
awaiting her arrival.
Yes. He'll graciously land. And, Maliknev is busy around here now. Good.
Yes, there have been some changes, but they don't need to concern you. I have some questions. I've spoken to Emmy, and she has mentioned that you discovered something below Westgate.
Yes.
Do you think it is in any way related to the tomb? You know the one.
I don't know. I don't think so. Though the entity there knows a lot about the underground and has been. I feel like it shudders. As I understand it, it keeps expanding and taking over whatever it comes into contact with. It used to be a dwarf, I think. It is. There's like a like fear in it, but it's like there's like a glint of the panic that she felt being completely, surrounded by a glob, a living being. Uh, it might know of the place. I am not eager to speak with it.
Would you do it regardless?
Well, I wanted to help it before Imitsure closed down the portal so that I could communicate and it wanted to, well, quite frankly, it wants to die. It is in eternal suffering trying to keep the blue flame that has inflicted itself on the portal from spreading to Westgate. It hoped that I would assist it in closing the portal so it would not spread and so that it could cease to exist. I suppose it could still be done from this side, but then that thing and, well, the blue flame would be in contact. I could speak with it, but as of now, I have nothing to offer it.
Okay, but if you do talk to it, do ask where that tomb is. Either way, that's not what I really wanted to ask. I'm, at Emmy's suggestion, I'm going to get involved in Westgate. Specifically, I intend to find out wherever this black network is hiding and destroy it, as it is helping Faye and one of its most useful instruments currently. At the same time, I want to get established in Westgate on a more permanent basis, I think. I don't know how much quite yet, but it is a city too useful to ignore, and if I'm already there, might as well, right?
Sticky Strict nuts. I mean, she likes whiskey. It's great. Yeah, I think it is a most useful place to have operations, certainly. The Black Network. I know that Stenniston used to operate quite closely with them before they were. Well, I think he still does, but he just does not. He has started not telling them much of what he knows, of course, because he knows that it is sensitive information. He should have much information about them and be willing enough to share it, considering as she gestures a claw to Vindictive herself. Everything.
Yes, he has no choice but to help us. And I do intend to give him a good reason to help us as well, because I, for sure, will not be personally attending to Westgate, so I need someone to do it for me once I take over.
I'm sure he would quite like that, though. He is like most of my kind. Uh, he looks to all the guards here and is well, that is something small. He will get used to it.
Suppose that's another topic that I at least want to breach ever so slightly. There are quite a lot of black dragons near Cormia, aren't there?
Oh, yes.
And from what I've heard, all of them sort of listen to this Severius.
Yes.
Out of necessity, because he is larger.
Yes.
That is, how to put this, a resource I'm quite interested in.
He looks dumbfounded at him.
Well, it's twofold, really. Having, I don't want to offend, but all the black dragons, apart from you, I've met so far, didn't impress me a lot. They were easily, seemingly easy to. They really fear this Severius, and I don't see what the big deal is about. So if one of us were to replace the Severius, then it should be easy to get more of the Black Dragons to do what we want instead.
Well, the problem is that what they are all doing is that they are all waiting for someone to deal with Severus, to be heard enough after dealing with Severus that they could then overthrow them and sit on the throne. They are waiting for someone who is willing to do the work for them so they can benefit. It's just that they're all doing it, so nothing will happen.
Yes, it's a stalemate that, however, only really stays a stalemate if it's a bunch of black dragons trying to outdo each other. What if you introduced me, really? I think that whole system would just fall apart for our benefit, really. It's a future plan that might not be entirely thought through yet, but I was just trying to gauge your reaction.
Oh, Beliknev. I do not plan to let Severus stay as he is forever. For now, I played along. I paid him tribute. Though it is a cleverly placed position that I can scry on when I want, to see what he is up to. I will get it back, and I wholly consider it mine still. If you one day wish to go there, well, on the path of destruction, at least, I should accompany you.
I'm glad you're interested. I have another question, which I'm curious about how you might react to it, but it is genuine. Do you have to be a black dragon to become the Black Dread? It's not really a family thing, right? It's a status position.
Love this question.
Like,
Zoom in on where Stigatrix's face. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got into this position.
I mean, Malachi, I don't know. Is that...
Well, alright, so the Black Dread was the dragon that used to rule the land that Cormia now occupies in a time long, long ago. It was killed, and Cormia made its corpse into their flag, but painted it purple because, I guess it looks less menacing. It, however, was old and had lots of offspring, which, most black dragons in this area will generally have a lineage that goes somehow back to this Black Dread. And ever since, each and every one of them has, at some point in their lives at least, contemplated what it would be like to once again restore this whole Cormyrian land to their ancestral, rule as the Black Dread. As Vinic might have surmised, though, the Black Dragon nature is not conducive to cooperation, nor to really accomplishing things that requires any level of self-sacrifice. Thus, they mainly exist as dreams. Every now and then, the Black Dragon would gain power enough to declare themselves the Black Dread, and maybe even sometimes begin to move against Cormyr, only to be vanquished by dragon slayers and grand heroes. Maybe even after having won a couple of powerful victories. Somehow, these stories always end with the dragon dead, and heroes and kingdoms who were heroically saved. Yeah. Thus, it is by most of these black dragons a title that is considered inherited, considered theirs by right, because they are descendants of this greatest dragon and therefore are the best black dragon there could be, who of course will have the black dragons in ancestral seat. For there to be another dragon who's even interested in this situation is somewhat unheard of. At least it hasn't really been recorded by anyone. If another dragon conquered Cormyr, would they listen? I mean, at that power level, probably. It would probably continue to be the black dragons that they are. So that most likely they would continue looking for any opportunity to get ahead themselves. But they are not commonly a type of dragon that they can be trusted to do what is best for them. So that is much to say. That's the only thing that you can trust them to do. I think that might answer your questions.
Yeah.
It's the origin
Oh,
of the
yes,
the
it
title.
actually sort of is originally heresy thing, or like
It
heretical thing, I
references an
suppose.
ancestor, right?
Yeah.
Who has become legend enough that it is something to emulate, to be like that ancestor. I mean, there's no official rules for what it means to be the Black Dread, except that you
I
can
mean,
enforce
yes.
your will upon this region.
You could still just beat all the black dragons up, and even, I mean, if you do that, none of them are gonna tell you that you're not the Black Dread.
That's about what I anticipated. Either way, it's a plan for the future, perhaps, but this Westgate situation is more important. Besides, Westgate would make a good forward outpost, so to speak, for any foray into the Swarm's novel fit, which are currently still covered by shadow, which I'm not entirely interested in messing with.
Yeah, let's take a trick to the dragon equivalent of Strugs. Just no problem with the shadow, really. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the answers.
Of course. I think we have benefited from working together before, and I see no reason that we shouldn't continue. Speaking of, now that we have, for now, sort of secured the mountains, I suppose we should start learning how to rebuild these sites from that obnoxious fellow on atop.
Yes, I assume the books that I took from Regency, I might have some answers, but I simply do not yet have the time to investigate them myself, nor the trust in any of my people to be able to succeed at that.
I have acquired arcane knowledge. I can do that part, though the workmanship and stone work is not. Uh, you have dwarves in your employ, yes?
You could
Surely
phrase it that way, yes.
that is their. That's what they do.
I'm sure that there is at least a single dwarf who has done masonry of some sort. Probably more than one.
You know, she thought so. She thought so. Good. Good. Yes. Well, I suppose the books are in the Fane, however.
Yes, they are below.
Yes. Well, I suppose I will come and study whenever I have time.
You're more than welcome to come here whenever you please, although I wouldn't want to say it out loud. But I am somewhat disappointed that neither you nor Emmy have ever brought any sort of tribute. Not from me, of course, but you know.
The fact that he just looks and blinks. Right.
Especially in this case, where you will be getting a tangible benefit from entering her domain, it seems only appropriate, don't you think?
Well, if it was only for my own benefit and not for her uh, high priestess, cleric, whatever the title is.
I'm just myself.
malignant. That's right. And if we do seal this Death King, then he will not be trying to impose of her territory. I think it is a win-win scenario, as they say.
That is true. If reason
Of course.
has any relevance in this discussion.
Of course. Paying dividends to the Queen is expected, it is true.
Either way, I figured I'd say something.
Yes. Well, I have benefited from her power through you. I shall see to it that I bring something next time. You are right. It is appropriate. As the Cicatrix to herself thinks, if she could humor Severus, giving something to the Queen seems, that actually, yeah, I suppose that's plausible. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. I suppose Cicatrix flies home, or
Yeah. If there's nothing more, she'll. Well, I mean, she might go take. Like, can I do an Arcana check to advance a clock or whatever?
yeah, I think so. It seems like you'll be given access to the books if you need them.
Yeah. The Tiamat library is a hot thing in the area.
Commodity.
Many people think that she's just about greed, and it's not true. Those are vicious rumors.
Let's see a check here. There's certainly lots of books to peruse. More than you could ever think to read. Given the opportunity here too. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think you can gain some insights with that into how this is supposed to be probably done. Enough so to mark another street. Not that this is notes from the giants themselves, but there's illustrations and such. When places like this have been investigated by Akamite archaeologists and adventurers and whatnot in the past. There you go.
So she will sit there with her monocle on for reading. Yes. All
Drow
right.
form, perhaps.
Yeah.
Drow form, perhaps.
Yeah, probably. The tomes are so fragile, They're not made to withstand dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she'll go home after, sharing the knowledge with Velignif, or whoever is there to take a message for Velignif. Yeah. She'll fly home again. Putting on the back burner of some gift for Tiamat that is not insulting yet minimizes her personal cost.
Well, that by definition then is not a great gift for Tiamat.
Well, because she's a dragon. She's 5 dragons.
She wants gifts very much like the same way that Severus wants gifts.
Yes.
Something that hurts to give up. But I mean, Tiamat also is ultimately greedy and will accept anything just to be.
Yes, but I figure she's also willing to then. I mean, no, that's the thing. She's not even willing to wait. She's like, no, you should keep giving me stuff, and then at one point you'll have something really good, and then you should give me that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's That's not gonna.
But, you know.
You know, a note has been made,
I think that's a good start.
right? Better than the other dragon. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so the two dragons turn their eyes upon, well, all three, it sounds like, turn their eyes upon Westgate then.
Yes.
Leering
And-
both at things on top of it and in the underground. You said
not,
something
not,
there?
not this year, though.
Figured. I mean, the Dragon Fiend is busy.
Fate is busy.
Yeah.
I think because it's not this year, yeah, I won't do anything this year either.
Mark, do you have anything else you want to do before I begin running through?
You can run a little more.
All right. Well, this might be something you want to oppose, but the Black Network is going to do exactly what, they're looking for this bounty that they put out, and are going to try to see if they can advance the Thayan clock here through espionage.
Almost as if I knew this was gonna happen.
I mean, you know, it was put out there that they were,
Yep.
that there was a. Do so. Looks like a
Oh my
777.
God.
Anyone wants to try to defend against that? Only a 777 though. So.
Yeah, I have 5 dice.
That is just enough as well to advance their clock into the next level.
Look at that dice pool.
I mean, are you just gonna go let the espionage go uncontested? It's influence and territory you're resisting with.
Yeah, I would have 5 dice.
All right. What are you going to be doing with your numbers?
Yeah.
Might as well try. I guess it's the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my argument. Like, what are you going to be doing with your faction?
I don't know. Would Trix try to interfere when the Black Network begins to ask about, where are the Thayans? We hear that someone disappeared in the mountains. We thought maybe we should visit. Been talking to dwarves who've been going back and forth in the area. We're looking for something that's probably a lich somewhere in the mountains.
Yeah, see, I don't know, because on the other hand, that would cast suspicion on her. She's in the mountains.
I mean, you could take that stance, or you could just assume there's going to be suspicion anyway, because... I mean, if the Thayans get what they want, we're fucked, right?
Yeah, she's gonna try and resist that. That's not so good.
Yeah.
She's slightly comforted that the other people might be willing to help her with this problem in the future.
I mean,
Nope.
in this case, it makes sense. Dragons, minions, wondering why the hell there's people around in her territory. Want to beat them up.
Right. They learn enough. Yes, people were in this area. They know that. There is something to find here. 2, it was Yaffle who was here. 3,
Oh God.
Yaffle did
Nothing.
something. Yaffle did something related to dragons. They move in here. At least that's what they believe now. They should look into dragon stuff and figure out what the hell. Why was she interested in them? What was the action? Why? Basically, it begins to become the. So of course, the why is that dragons are indirectly keeping Yaffle in this world, which they wouldn't like. But they're beginning to suspect that dragons are involved. So we'll begin taking precautions against such problems. Looking into you, perhaps more so than Yaffle. Right. I think you're clued in enough to figure out that things have leaked a little bit about you and past Thayans, and some people. Oh yeah, that guy visited Dragonfane, and there was a whole thing, and enough to create a suspicion. All right, that's a thing. It does not have a convenient way to further expand right now, so I think they're happy with this result. They're being given that at the end of the year. It seems fair. Rippers, all their books stolen from them, but there was something about a favor that they did, and they got their books. So right now they're certainly I'm pretty happy, though they're ill aligned with the Thayans. There's some bad blood there. And it's good.
Is that because they're both undead?
No, it's
That they
because Velignith bribed them to attack.
Oh.
Thayan.
Yes.
The Black Fleet of
So-
Thea is going to be given that information at the end of the year, you said? Like
Yeah.
the Thayans?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Then I think I will take action with my company against the Black Network.
All right.
This was a method I was thinking about attacking them with, but I didn't want to do it because they would warn them in advance that I was going to be attacking them this way. Now that I know like how their tendrils reach, like where they extend to, I think unconventional warfare against their influence is what's called for.
Mhm.
As Emissary Leaders here's agents go out into the world to intercept messages and what have you to attack their influence score using my might and sovereignty, or my might and influence, excuse me.
Okay. Yeah, assassinate people, that sort of thing.
Yep, assassinate people.
All right.
Yeah, might
Now,
and
I'm going to ask here, your goal with this is what? Like, what do you hope to accomplish? Because I don't know that you just want to do damage to them. Is that
Yeah.
correctly
So
understood?
I was going to look to permanently reduce their influence, but I guess I would ask whether it's possible to intercept that information that the Black Network just picked up. Although I did not defend against it, my company wasn't really in a position to do so.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Could even be done. I mean, could even be done using espionage, which would be, I suppose, bribery.
Okay.
And like they are not a morally upstanding faction. Thus, their
Mhm.
people are not fanatically loyal either.
Right.
They're fairly aligned because it's profitable for them.
Of course.
So they could be a target of that, but certainly I think we would just have to set a goal for like what is the result you're looking for to stop this information.
Okay.
It seems fair that you'd be matching Thay's role, or the progress here. So I guess we can use this we'll make a contested roll. Should you do that?
Okay.
With,
Sure.
With them and you.
Yeah, the way I intended to frame this is that like if anyone ends up looking into my organization, perhaps we're interested in claiming this bounty as well, and we don't want the Black Network to get the money first.
Oh, that's clever. All right.
And so it ends up being like two competing like spy groups.
Yeah.
Two competing.
Yeah. Let's
All right.
Let's see about that then. Unconventional warfare.
Yep, unconventional
I'll
warfare.
Try to do it. Contested here.
Might and influence. I do get a +2 on that, courtesy of my sinister operatives. It's the thing they do. The dragon will not be participating herself. That seems antithetical to what she's trying to accomplish. That's 9 dice. She can't be everywhere. That does not beat the 777s.
They will roll again, the same roll as you doing
Okay.
to contest you. You're seeing who can accomplish what they're trying to do first. They can
Okay.
do this. They can deliver the thing if you succeed. That you get to them, right?
Okay.
And this is it's influence and might. Not their best, but they're not terrible. They have a lot of influence. So. No, that's a bad roll.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a double 1. So not only do you do it, you can also keep yourself hidden.
All right. Yes, the unconventional warfare strikes.
Yeah. Basically, they have lines and supply and such of who gives who what packages and such. And I suppose what goes missing is not the information; it's the cipher. Right. They travel with their stuff encryptedly. They don't bring information just freely. And I suppose when it comes to it, they find that they don't have what's needed to decrypt it.
Okay, that makes sense. So they still have the details. They just have to like decrypt it first.
Yeah, they can't move on. It's
Okay.
we'll do this. We'll do this.
Sure.
That seems fair to remember that it's out there. It just isn't viable. So, what does this DRAG drag to drag something? Ooh. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Sounds good to me.
As they try to do their job. Got a fairly good chance too. But, mess it up. They're also wary of the prerequisites. I mean, you don't trust those guys.
I think Emissary Legion here will inform the other dragons that her minion snatched a cipher from information the Black Network collected. She's not sure what that information entails,
Yeah.
but it's probably about what Faye's concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, let's say that the one word she can. I mean, that at least it's concerned about is, cipher that has translations for words like, dragon, for example.
All right.
Dragon.
Yeah.
Yaffle. Connection. Oh, no.
So,
Question mark?
so there is.
No.
So there certainly is a, officially like how far this clock is along, and I think the dragons have an idea of it as well.
Okay.
It's not as defined here as that. All right. Yeah. These guys move to here, and that fleet there when it moves, it's a clear change. Because the weather over the Sea of Fallen Stars, sort of like around here, is it is rain. Not storm, just pouring rain. And it doesn't stop. It just continues. And it's not like it continues, for a couple days. It continues continuously. Unstoppable. Water just pours. Which means that the water level, sort of in this river opening here and such, actually begins to raise a little bit. Sort of notably, a couple centimeters, not like anything that floods anything, but there's a notable change in water level as this fleet moves. And basically knowing where the fleet is, you do by figuring out where the edges of this moving rainstorm is. Probably Mysteriously looks over. It doesn't quite reach the land there, but it's a visible like dark clouds and just rain out there.
Okay. At least it's dark clouds as opposed to darkness.
Yes, the darkness area can't be seen this far away. Yeah, there is a cold wind blowing out there. It is probably to most people quite intimidating, really. Because that is a level of power that hasn't really been shown off. Like, this is not subtle. It's sort of the opposite of subtle. And usually when Umberlee shows unsubtle power, things are about to be bad for a lot of people. She is not a... it's yeah. I think it's gonna be bad, right? It's the understanding. Beyond that, word comes out. Ships do arrive in Westgate that have been part of the fleet and speak, stating that Umberlee is mad. There has been coalition fleets. There's been Black Thayan fleets. There's been the pirates have been removed from this. The audacity The audacity of the people of the land here to come to the sea and think themselves masters of it. Yes, the forces of fury have been weak now. They have been weakened, but Umberlee is awakening, and awakening to a situation here that is not acceptable. Right now, Umberlee has fallen under the guise of Sylvanas, much like Malar has. But previously, Umberlee was a greater deity, and Umberlee seems to certainly be bringing a level of power that is not expected from an exarch, right? This is a show that there is more to this deity than meets the eye. Word is in Westgate that the person that is chosen is not a child or anyone who's sort of born as a chosen. Many of them are born young and they grow up hard lives and sort of have amazing powers as they grow. This person used to be Lord of the Pirate Isle until some other pirates came and together sort of killed him. As it turns out, they killed him, they threw him in the water, and he has come back. Still sort of dead, but no longer, unmoving and cold. He moves very much and speaks and wields the power of the sea. He got thrown in there, and he has only come back stronger. It's not even a choice anymore to follow him or not. The Captain's Council have certainly been made to submit for what they did. In life, he was one of the greatest pirates of this era, slain sea monsters. Word is once he and his ship battled and killed a young kraken, which is it sounds like a sea legend, right? That basically can't do that. It seems impossible. Kraken's also a creature beloved by Umberlee. But, apparently he's back. Undead. Some say he cannot die, and that nothing can kill him, certainly. He is Umberlee's fury. He is her power upon the world, chosen by her in death to return and be there. Beyond that, it is said that this fleet doesn't just have pirates from now in it. Also people who were dead like 100 years ago, but now have been brought here. As it turns out, all people who die at sea belong to Umberlee, and she seems perfectly okay with bringing them, to bear when needed. Exactly what their mission here isn't really stated. No one's sure, except that Umberlee's mad, and it's about time someone did something to make it not so. The sailors here certainly come with the expressed goal: find ways to please the Lady of the Sea. Don't daddle. This is important, and she has. She's not going to stop. She has a goal, and it's going to be accomplished. Beyond that, though, there's also reported there is she challenges all those who would claim domain on the sea, including what aberrant things might be out there. They too appear to be her enemy. Notably, the Chosen battled an Aboleth and killed it because he is undead, and psionic power rarely works well on the undead. Thus, can't mind control them. So the aberrants of eldritch powers have little they can push too hard against them. Yeah, they seem to be sailing towards Westgate. Certainly being slow about it, but yeah. They're coming, and what that means no one really knows. I think probably Vercingetorix would know of this. This name is Evander Highcastle. The old pirate.
That's a weird name for a pirate.
No, they don't come from they didn't come from the Pirate Isle originally. You know, most of these pirates don't start out as being pirates, so there was a
No, definitely
Yeah.
not.
Captain's Council, you brought this upon the world.
the chosen of Umberlee, and certainly not a child, as might have been expected. Very much a full-bodied, high-level
Ooh.
sort of person, given the additional power of being chosen, which, as we know, is an epic destiny. So it tells of the area. Yeah. All right. The Red Banner hosts down here doing something completely different. Are moving around. They have recently raided, done well. They have a lot of what they need from Termish. Taking it easy a bit. They will move to the plains and hang out for a while. Nathlag is doing all right. It seems that Anglospark is happy with his meeting with Veyros and doesn't seem to have a problem with, you know. Clearly, it's very important that Veyros was here, but Emissary gets the idea that whatever happened during their meeting, it certainly made Anglospark not fear any challenge to himself, or, you know, maybe he did get challenged and went back down. What really
Yeah.
happened there is not
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but the druid certainly to be happy with the result.
Maybe he's already leader understands.
The elder fucking gold dragon. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
That's
The druid walks into your throne room and says, "Don't worry about it." You don't worry about it.
this green dragon here, Nyrorial, has apparently also been. Anglospark was sort of trying to enforce his will upon it, but it seems that now it has been allowed to slip away. Go look for a suitable place to lair. That is, you know, not a hidden sort of dank hole where the big blue dragon can't find it. Yeah, it's good. Bane does what they do. And a slight attempt to set up some pillars in the water here will be stifled as they begin working on the bridge. It seems that the stone isn't sufficient to hold the river. Perhaps water has more of a will now than it used to. Thus, no
That's
progress is
incredible.
made. In Colmir, the Radiant Host and the Shadowbar are having a bit of a standoff. The Shadowbar has been pushed back. The Radiant Host would begin moving into the Netheril Desert next. However, given the news of the Coalition fleet backing off, Colmir has to turn their eyes towards the Sembian front, stifling their progress. Things are going well, though. They can't just leave their hinterlands open. Beyond that, they have some outlying sort of no man's land to reintegrate from Sempia, if possible. Sempia, after all, still had the upper hand there. Yeah. Also, just we haven't really seen anything from them, but since you investigate the Black Networks connection, they are also the ones supplying food and such to Darkhold in the far hills, sort of at the very top corner here of our map. Another remnant of the Centaurum, which is a Centaurum, really like a fortress, claiming dominion mostly over the lizard folk of these swamps and sort of holding their Black Network and them have an understanding of some sort. So, I mean, not much is really known about them beyond that they they live there as some sort of barbarian king or something.
Yeah. Apparently, they also need food to eat. So
Beyond that, we would generally move towards Cindermoon's the meeting there. So I do think perhaps instead we should say, does anyone have anything else they would like to do tonight? Because I think we'll wait with that to next time.
It does sound like a longer project.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah. I do have a question.
Yeah.
Though that is unrelated to most things.
Sure.
How would it work mechanically if Valignus Factions wants to try to exploit the Earth nodes? Like, what is the... We talked about it a little bit. You said it could be maybe an asset. But how do I work on obtaining this asset?
So how we've done it with long-term projects, like building a road or building a bridge, it's basically been that we have a clock, which counts up. Every year you can make an attempt using like economics and land, for example, depending on what it is, right? You're trying to do treasure and land, probably. To make progress on it, and when it's done, you get the thing. Yeah, there's a minimum difficulty based on how difficult the task is to accomplish. So a roll may not succeed, even if you get a couple successes. But yeah, that's probably how we'd do it. Usually just a 4 clock, because otherwise it gets very long.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that
Seems pretty straightforward.
it should be. I hope. It's just because it's one roll engine, but sometimes sometimes one roll is just not sufficient. Or at least we don't want to base everything on it, I guess. More chances to do it. You roll 2 1s and suddenly all the earth motes fall into the ground. No longer available. That really be how this would go. Yeah, the obstacles for your attempt there to exploit earth motes would be, one, they're hard to reach, hard to catalog, somewhat hard to find. They fly about willy-nilly. Sometimes they hit each other. And then I guess your workers might also become victims to the Harby tribes that live in there. Not Valignus himself, of course. Way too powerful and big for that, but random dwarves and hippogriffs and such could certainly be eaten by Harpies. Maybe finding some way to deal with those. No one's really talked to them much. They just sort of been there, kept their distance from the dragons when you visited.
All right.
You know that these spell-scarred Harpies were kicked out from over there once upon a time.
Kicked out by what, though?
By the other Harpies, who didn't want the spell-scarred ones around.
That's understandable, honestly.
Yeah, so really, I mean, that's a sensible stance.
All right. Anything else anyone wants to ask or mention?
Nope, I'm good for today.
All right. We completed a goal, which was the integration of Thunderhound. And we made progress really on a couple of us. I'm curious about this Westgate angle. I had not seen that coming, but it didn't seem like there was much interest in that regard.
I mean, I am interested because Emmy is interested in Valignus being interested.
Yeah, game circumstances force different, as Thay has continually put out the, increasing enticing rewards, for information, and Valignus has his pet exiles, and we don't want Thay to discover the truth.
Yeah.
And so we had to delete the truth, and I think the Black Work, at least in this region, may have signed their death warrant by promptly proving to us how they can find the truth.
That they're effective at doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They're certainly good. If you destroy them in Westgate, you will have gotten rid of them in Westgate. They'll survive elsewhere.
Yeah,
doing
we're not looking
things.
to leave them from the entire world.
You're not gonna hunt them down in Waterdeep or the Anarok Desert, right? But
Yeah.
But you don't really have to. Same as the Harpers, who were very unlucky with their events and, and got rid of this place a long time ago. They used to be a big deal as well, but things happened and didn't work out for them. And yeah.
Well, I mean, there's still a big deal, just not here.
Yeah, if you want to get involved
Yeah.
in bad things, don't keep failing and have other people succeed, because then it's definitely your gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe they'll return one day. But,
Yeah, regarding Westgate, my plan initially was to, well, do the whole Thunderhome thing, work on getting that asset with the Elf Notes, and then actually kick Cormier out of the Dragon Coast here, the southern half. But now I'll just focus on Westgate instead. That makes a lot of sense. Like, one of those two things was going to be my next target.
Yeah. I think, Cormier can't be the bigger threat right now because Thay's here and Cormier's distracted, so...
Yeah, Cormier
Yeah.
isn't the bigger threat, but yes, Cormier is distracted, which makes it easier to get them out of here.
And the Cormier clock compared to Faye.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's
Here's
really-
the thing, like, if Cormier's clock fully fills up all the way, they don't have armadas of liches.
no, they don't.
They are a weakened nation struggling to survive. If Thay's clock fills up all the way, maybe Zastam himself comes.
He does have a stat block, yeah.
The-
It's a big
If
deal.
he has a stat block, we can kill him.
It's a real big
Yeah.
deal.
He's like, so I heard you folks are connected with Yaffle over here. Well, let me just go ahead and...
Turns out the solution to this problem is very simple. I
Yeah,
just
kill the dragons.
Hell is apparently not allowed to tell me what's going on or to offer to help me, but I can ask them to do a thing for me. You know, let's shake hands and just solve this problem once and for all.
Wouldn't that be some shit if you figure out enough to realize that, like, Hell can't directly tell you the answer, so you start spitballing questions at Hell?
You play 20 questions with Hell.
Oh, once you find out, you just pay Hell to do your mission, and they can do that. They just can't do it of their own volition.
You fill in the blanks with the shadows left behind by what Hell can't tell you.
Yeah. To know the answer, you must first know all the other answers to everything else.
Hell can't willingly tell you. So there's enough evil red wizards to probably
No,
find someone in the know.
The Soul Cure of Divinity had enough foresight to predict that if that was not made a stipulation, Hell would just go to Zastan and be like, hey, let's solve a common problem here.
Yeah.
You know, this is very easily fixable.
We just don't want the matter to be put to, like, a bunch of, like, logic-minded folks, like a lich think tank. Like, if we were to solve this, how would we solve this?
You know, how could we get most of it?
That's right. Like,
Hey, I mean,
think of it from our
under the
perspective.
Dragon Fane, there's still a lich in a circle there, just hanging out. And presumably there's another one somewhere under the Giants Run Mountains, right?
Yeah.
Now the bizarre angle for you two is if, like, you then, like, an unlikely alliance with the Death King. You don't want the Thayians to kill us.
No, I will never ally with the Death King, even
No,
if it
what
actually
I'm
makes sense.
worried about is that the Death King's gonna be like, hey, Thay, I got your lich. You can have it back now. I'm like, no.
There certainly might be a
No,
reason
no,
he's
no, no,
keeping
no.
it. Yeah.
Mhm.
There certainly might be a reason he's keeping it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could end up being oh, you guys are going to try to resolve me? Fuck it then. Throws the lich into the spanner.
Yeah.
I know where you can
Right,
find
oh.
another. No!
All that thing has seen. All it knows.
You have an idea that he has a hard time leaving or influencing things outside the mountains directly.
Yeah. Which is
Yes,
why
but
he
that
would
doesn't.
At
Yeah.
least
want
as
to pick
long
up
as
agents that
it's
could.
the last place is working.
Which means that we need to keep Thay out of the mountains.
Well, I don't know how feasible that is.
Yeah.
Because I think even if we like defang the Black Network, and I absolutely do intend to go after their influence when we attack them, because I don't want them to figure out who's going after them. But they might end up resolving this the way they have before. They'll just send more liches.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A group,
And
a
portal.
gaggle, a murder
Doesn't even
of
take
liches.
long.
Yeah,
It's like half an hour.
that's not terrifying. Like a lich delivery to your front door, a half hour, the pizza's free.
Let's go back to Thaymount, for a shower, and then we'll be right back. It costs a lot of money, of course, but
You don't have to
they're
care about
earning
money.
money because people are buying their stuff.
Tell them that the exiles are hidden beneath the Blue Flame Hill.
Well, I guess that solved itself.
Well,
You have not seen any Thayans go to investigate that hill.
I bet not.
So, there's clearly little desire to.
No. As a highly magical entity, I also do not wish to.
The
Yes, I was
Witchocracies
gonna
have certainly learned a healthy respect for anything that is in
Cicatrix.
that venue.
If the Cicatrix employs much the same strategy as Mysteria, if she just doesn't look at it, maybe it'll be gone one day.
We could plant some more hedges here. Just block the view.
You know that.
It's not there. It
Nice.
doesn't exist.
She likes punching problems, but this seems a little like there's a lot to punch here.
I guess you could punch the blue fire. There's an entity
punch
made out
the
of there of
fire.
entirely blue flame. If you could destroy the
Yeah.
avatar of Nobanyan,
No.
you'd be onto something right there, God Killer.
Yeah, you know.
Just knock it unconscious somehow and offer it to Asmodeus.
I do want to Pokeball it.
I non-lethally attack the fire.
Sounds so dumb. Right, folks. Next week, I probably going to get involved with the confrontation with Cinderbolt. Probably happening.
And then Westgate, maybe. Or dwarves, or
Yeah,
not dwarves, I mean, Flying Islands, or
yeah.
Death King things, also.
Dwarves and hippogriffs corral a bunch of earth notes. They will find one Valignant once.
Just imagine,
they
we're
will-
gonna,
I
we're gonna
mean-
have... That's how we're gonna bring a little bit of Western into this, right? Flying their hippogriffs, straw in mouth, lassoing earth motes.
Yeah. Like gently towing it back slowly, like corralling them together, making sure they don't bounce off each other.
That's high fantasy.
Yeehaw!
It's like herding sheep.
Like on the
It's his
old
name!
match. Yeah.
All right, folks. Talk to you all next time. It's been good. It's good to have you back, Sheep.
Yeah, I'm glad to be
Yeah.
playing again.
Ari, sorry about the Getra thing. I took it from you.
No, you could. I'm sure there'll be lots of time to sweet talk Gishra.
Sounds like
Yeah.
you're all going to his house, so.
Hmm?
Sounds like you're all going to do things in his house, so.
You know,
If not anything, maybe this provides some insight into Getra, because it's been a while since Getra's featured in any
Yeah.
story.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
The best way to manipulate him is going to be to threaten to force him to action.
Hmm.
If
Oh,
the
yeah.
undead take over, you'll have no more people to eat? I don't know.
He moves in full time to the forest.
That piece of shit.
I have notes
I'm
from
here to
last session
stay.
about Githra, and the words I have some of the words I've written is not a business beholder, and that is that might be the best thing I've ever written down.
How do I
You
make
know.
him care about business?
He's not about business.
Tradecraft. Diplomacy beholder. There you go. He could be like your representative, like the person everyone speaks to when they come to speak with you diplomatically.
Secretary, the person who tells people you're busy.
The seneschal will see you now, and they walk
By
into the
eating
room,
them?
and it's the fucking.
It's
the
like a
older-
test. If you manage to persuade him not to eat you when you wake him up, you know, then you're cool enough to talk with Visigatrix.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
No, he's
If
just
they
delightful.
couldn't make it past the beholder, then it
So
wasn't
I
worth your
want to speak with the
conversation.
manager, and they're like, "Oh, okay, sure."
Like,
Just right in there
this
behind
is
the curtain.
yeah. Mo Mighty Beholder, this is your room of opulence. You are permitted to eat anyone who walks into this room. Or spare them as you see fit.
Now, how does he
Have fun.
manipulate things to get more people to show up?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that's the thing,
what is
right?
this
'Cause it's
saying
like
that you give out free barrels of mead?
Special. Alcohol here.
there'll be one. I'll give him one everlasting like mug of ale or like casket of ale, and those rumors will spread, and then he just eats everyone. There is actually, he doesn't even have to lie. There is actually alcohol down there. It's
Click
free.
here to learn more.
Yeah.
Trust the people in grey hoods and knives, you know?
I believe they're brown. So that's. I mean, those are the brown ones are trustworthy.
They
That's
used
what I
to be
hear.
grey.
All right. Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Eh.
See ya.
Will also be an end to the stream. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And this will all be on YouTube, probably like tomorrow or something, if you missed anything. So yeah. Bye.
Bye.